sergeant thinks the moon landing was a hoax.
Technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone app. It's foolproof.
The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Earth ain't flat, evolution is real. Chemtrails don't exist, vaccines work. Climate change is happening, we landed on the moon. The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Scooty, it's not alright. Baby, it's not alright.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hello everyone, this is Craig FTFE. Welcome back to the channel. Absolutely ecstatic to be here today. This is a show that I have wanted to do for a long time, but I never thought would happen. But it has. The impossible has happened. Jeranism has left the Flat Earth cult, and he's here today to talk to me about his experience joining Flat Earth, within Flat Earth, and his feelings since finding out that he has been wrong. And Jeran, thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much. I just noticed, I'm just looking at a video somebody's making about me saying, Jeran says he loves Satan. When did I say that?
I mean, Satan's cool, I guess. I reckon he has good parties. I don't know.
I think they're taking that from the beginning of my show on Friday when I said that I wanted to wish a happy birthday to Satan because I didn't like him at first, but then he kind of grew on me, and then he became friends, and then we went down to Antarctica together, and then he paid for the trip, and then I was like, oh wait, did I say Satan? I meant Will Duffy.
Yeah,
so,
no, Satan was the one in the sky pretending to be the sun, remember?
I get it mixed up all the time.
Yeah.
That, straighten down now. Except for this guy, whoever made this video.
Yeah.
Obviously, I doesn't get it.
I'm really, really happy to have you here. You and I had Flat Earth debates in the past. We've made videos about each other, and to come full circle like this is quite a thing. You've spent a long time in Flat Earth, researching Flat Earth, pushing Flat Earth. How are you feeling at the moment after everything that's happened?
I would say embarrassed, and then also a little bit more free. So I think that overall it's a awesome thing. It's a great thing. Very thankful that it didn't last much longer than it did, but it was still quite a long time. But I think I learned a lot in 10 years, and so I think that things going forward will be much different. So that's always good. But
not that I want to say that I'm happy that you're embarrassed, but I see that as a good thing because it's a sign of humility. It's a sign of you've realized, how wrong you were about a lot of stuff. And being embarrassed is, I think, a natural emotion to feel in all this. We've all been wrong about things. I've been wrong about things with you, and I've had to bite the bullet and say, you know what, shit, I was wrong about that. And it never feels good. But you've done it on a scale that most of us could probably never experience.
Yeah, and it just comes down to, I think, if you truthfully have honesty as your barometer, or it's your kind of your compass, then there's no question as to how you have to act. So it's unfortunate that I didn't see the truth before the trip because I could have saved a lot of people and a lot of time. But at the same time, it is, if I called myself a truther and my goal was to find the truth, well, I did. So did it take me longer than it took most? Sure. Did it take me having to say some things I'd rather take back? Sure. But at least I'm where I wanted to be, maybe 10 years later than I wanted to be there. But at least I know now, and so that's what's important.
I like your new kind of logo or saying that you've got always honest, sometimes right, because, what more can we want, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want from everybody else, and I'm not seeing that. But because that's all I can ask of you if I watch anybody else's show. I can't expect them to be always right. That would be impossible. Mm-hmm. But I can, in my opinion, expect somebody to be always honest. And then if they get something wrong, then just admit it. Come out and say, hey, I was wrong about this or I was wrong about that. And that's forgivable. But it's the people who double down, triple down, and just keep repeating the same, broken logic. It's like the new thing. It's funny because flat earthers want to talk about globe earthers being indoctrinated. But like I said the other day, it's like, well, when we went to school, we at least learned some true things. And when you become a flat earther, the problem with that is that many of the things that you hear that I'm starting to realize are just blatant fabrications. They're lies. They're whatever you want to call them. I guess lie is a tough word. I'm not sure if the people who are saying it know that it's not true. They just are repeating it. But for instance, one of those things being you can't tell the shape of the ground from lights in the sky is one of the most ridiculous claims ever said by anybody. Yeah. Because when do we get to outlaw certain lines of evidence, right? I mean, who else has even tried that? Just say like, oh, wait, that evidence disproves me? Well, then we don't accept that evidence. Of course, that's not the way things work. But flat earthers now are repeating this ad nauseum, and it's indoctrination. That's what's happening, is they're being indoctrinated into the idea that you can't determine the ground by the lights in the sky, which is just insane. It's how actually the entire thing was built. That's how they figured it all out. If we were just stuck on the ground with no other options, it'd be very difficult to determine the shape of the earth. But when you have the sky, it gives you the answers. When you see how the things around us move relative to us, it tells us a lot about the shape of what we are on. And you've always had an interest in things in the sky, like you've done your video of the ISS crossing the moon and everything. And I feel like you always have been looking for the truth. I do now. I'll admit, for a long time, I thought you were a grifter, along with a lot of them. And with you here now, I will give you that apology face to face. I am sorry that I ever called you a liar, because I don't think you were. Now, looking back at everything you've done, I think you were always looking for the truth. Yeah, that's true. I mean, thank you. And and it gets difficult when you get people who, let's say my wife and I thought about the earth, could it be flat? I kind of dismissed it, said, no, there's no way. Then I saw the AE map for the first time. And then when I started looking into it, and then I decided to make videos about it, we even at that time thought somebody's going to step forward and tell us where we're getting things wrong. That was kind of our thought. But then instead, it was a lot of emails from people saying, oh man, I've always felt the same way. And you got to keep going because this is something that you're not allowed to talk about, that people get upset. And so from there, you kind of start to, put more importance into yourself than you probably should. And then from there, it just becomes difficult, because if you're going to back away from something that you've gotten people into, it really needs to be significant, right? It's not like I could just, people gave Ranty such a hard time because he literally showed one photograph and said, this one photograph made me believe instead that the earth is a ball. And from a flat earther's perspective, we're like, what? You have all these observations that you've taken and all these personal experiences where you've gone out and seen things too far, and but then just one photo brought it back. So I think that it was probably a lot more than that for him, right? But what happened was that was just the one thing he said, okay, I'm going to ride this on the way out. So the kind of the same thing would be true for me. Was I knew, and all flat earthers knew back at the beginning, I don't know if they know now, but we all knew that the South had to be a lie. That's just required of the flat earth. If the South is what we're told, well, then how the hell could the earth be flat? If the South is the opposite of the North, if it converges down to a continent at the bottom, if the lines of longitude do that, well, then the earth can't be flat. So that's unfortunate, because there was, that was contingent. And so when Duffy first said he was going to take people to Antarctica, I'm like, yeah, right. How's he going to pay the EPA study, and how's he going to, do all these things? And then he started telling me and said, oh, we're going to actually go to 80 degrees south. I'm like, wait, you mean inland? We're going to go inland? So as these things started coming up, I started realizing that no, that is the answer. If that will tell me one way or the other. And then if it is the opposite of what I've been saying for 10 years, then that is plenty of a reason to tell people I no longer believe it, because I wouldn't believe it anymore. So that's what happened, is that the South ended up being identical to what is advertised, meaning that the lines of longitude do converge down to the 90-degree south marker. The sun operates exactly as they tell us it does. The globe Earth is the one that predicts correctly the location of the sun at all times, the rise, the set, the angles, the azimuth. So from there, it became quite clear that I'm not even sure they could lie to people about where they live. I don't even think that's possible unless everybody on Earth is blind, in which case you probably could. But if people have eyes, which I think a high percentage of people do, then you can't really lie to them about where they live, because as soon as they take out a map and try and jive with the known motions of the sky, they would know quickly that doesn't work, or, hey, this is perfect and it must be correct. And that's kind of the place that I'm at now.
Yeah, it really does. It fascinates me when flat earthers stick to this mantra of, oh, you can't tell anything about the ground by the sky, when we've been using the stars to navigate the ground for centuries. You know, how is there that correlation if you can't tell something from one about the other? It is ridiculous. It blows my mind. Right, so what I want to do is I want to ask you a few questions about before you were a flat earther and what drew you into being a flat earther, if that's okay to start with.
Anything you want.
So what initially drew you into flat earth? Was there any specific video, person, or event that convinced you to jump aboard the Flerf train?
It was definitely the clues, but I was a flat earther.
You mean Mark Sargent's clues?
Yep, but there was
Right.
I was a flat earther probably 4 months before that. So my wife and I had gotten to the point where we just said we're going to kind of rebuild our belief structure. We had realized religion was a lie, and we wanted to kind of rebuild what we believed from the ground up. And she just happened to be looking out of our bedroom window and said, "Do you think the Earth could be flat, or could the Earth be flat?" And I'm like, "What? No. How would that be possible?" You know, she's gone to the east and gone to Germany. I've gone to the west and gone to the Philippines. So I was like, no, there's no way. Planes can't go around a flat Earth. And I kind of told her it was silly. And then this is about November of 2014. And then I was looking into the moon landing for not even for flat Earth related at all. It was more, I was trying to figure out, could they have lies that have lasted a long time? So I was looking at the moon landing, and then that's when I saw the AE map for the first time. And the AE map did kind of slap me in the face, because I had just got done telling my wife a week earlier that it was ridiculous that planes can't go around a flat Earth. And then I saw this map, and it hit me that planes could go around it. So then I started from there saying, okay, well, this is still can't be true, because it shows here that there's no north-south circumnavigation. And then I went looking into that, and then I think many people have heard my story a million times, that I saw that ZQ pilot who was trying to break the record for north-south circumnavigation single in a plane, and he went to the 90-degree marker and turned around and went back to Brazil, and then said that the weather was too bad, he couldn't go past 90 degrees. And then he went from Brazil over to like Easter Island, over to New Zealand, up to Alaska, and finished off the leg, and then they gave him the record. So at that point, and this is one of the problems with those things, is you immediately see that and you just take it as, oh my God, the Earth's flat. That's the only reason that would work. And then you from there go into a confirmation bias, where everything you're looking at is with that bias. So I brought up that Sir Renu Fiennes, his name is. He's like the world's greatest explorer. I think he's from your neck of the woods. He is friends with the Queen, and his best friend is Prince Charles. Anyway, he supposedly did a north-south circumnavigation in 1979 to like 82. And when I started looking into him, you're looking for anything negative, right? Like there's got to be something bad about him that I can just dismiss him. And then, sure enough, I found a lawsuit where he stood in court and admitted to faking accidents. And while that's a problem in and of itself, it doesn't mean he didn't do the expedition that is said to be done. But it's just easy for me to dismiss. So because I found that article, it was like, no, we don't trust this guy now because he stood in court and admitted to faking accidents. And so that's a total confirmation bias. You're not actually looking at the evidence there. You're trying to find a reason to actually not look at the evidence, because you know that the evidence says you're wrong, right? This guy says he went into this journey, and it's a multiple-year journey with multiple people, but you just are able to dismiss it because of one separate court case that actually had nothing to do at all with the actual expedition. So if you go through and you start looking or researching in that manner, you will always find what you want. And that's what happens, is you end up building kind of a false case where you're thinking things are evidence, but really they're just because your brain wants them to be. And so that's just a confirmation bias. I mean, that's what that is. And it's scary because I'm seeing it now with every other flat earther and with every other, basically most conspiracy theories. Most conspiracy theorists are a confirmation bias, and if you want something to be true, you can find evidence that it's true. That's what's crazy about it. Yeah. So you got to be careful. You got to be really careful. You got to take both sides of the story. I tell people all the time, I do think that globe earthers do the same thing. I think that they also use a confirmation bias, and that they also but the difference is that you're right. So the problem with that is that you can somebody who's right can get away with confirmation bias because they're right. They still not the correct way to research, but it is, you end up being on the right end of history or the right side of the story. Whereas flat earthers need to realize that it's not okay just to say, well, they do it, so we do it. Yeah, they do it and they're right. You do it, you're wrong. There, there's going to be a problem with that. So
I think everyone has a
outside.
bias at the end of the day, don't they? Everybody has some kind of bias inherent to
Absolutely.
their life experiences and what they think is true. But what you've done clearly is tried to put that bias to the side. Maybe not so much before, but certainly in the past couple of years, I have watched you try to put that bias to the side and look at the evidence, through an unbiased eyes as much as you can. And I think that is why you came to the conclusion that you did after seeing the 24-hour sun.
Yeah, and it was more than that. It was everything combined, right? The South just ended up being exactly what was advertised, and so all the people that came to me and all the reasons that they said not to go on the trip ended up to all just be ridiculous. Things like, oh, they're going to take you somewhere else, and it's like, no, this is what you don't understand. They've already told me where they're taking me. So I said, so the sky must match the globe model, and I said, if it doesn't, then I'll expose that. So don't worry about that. But everything, like their little complaints about all that stuff, just seemed to be reaching, and then also just wasn't going to come out the way that they thought. And I just kept telling him, and I thought that there was just no way that I would go down there and everything would match the globe. I just didn't think that was the chance, because I thought that the South was a lie. There's a lot of problems with the South that we were able to find, again, undersea cables not being run down there. Now, there's probably reasons for all that. But again, when you're just looking for evidence of a certain thing and you go looking and you see these cables, rather than follow up on that and say, oh, I wonder why these don't run in the South, you just immediately say, oh, this is the reason. It's because of the flat Earth. So it's just you're able to build a faulty set of evidence that is not fully true. You're just kind of applying it as it's true. And so now looking back, you can totally see that, and you can recognize where you were wrong about a lot of things. And there's things, there's the sad part that there's signs the whole time. The whole time there were signs that I was wrong, and you just either dismiss them or you're like, you shelve them. Like, we'll get to that. Somebody will get to that. We'll figure that out. Yeah. And then it was much later that I figured out, like, the whole idea, I always thought there would be another map. Like I said, okay, well, if the AE map isn't right, well, then somebody will come up with another map. And it took until, I guess, about 6 months before the final experiment when ultimately I realized that, wait, there can be no other flat Earth map. There'll never be another flat Earth map. It's impossible.
Well, did you know Tiger Dan before? Did you hear Tiger Dan the flat earther? Because he stopped being a flat earther because he tried to make a flat Earth map and figured out that he couldn't. It was impossible. And I think
the bad part about Tiger Dan, and I want to apologize to him, but I don't know if he's still around. But
no, I haven't seen him for a long time. No.
Well, somebody sent me the video I did on him the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, you need to review this on your channel and eat some humble pie." I won't even press play on it yet because I'm like, I don't want to hear that, because I think I just gave him a hard time the whole video. But no, so there was lots of people like that, and this is a problem. Like with Tiger Dan, somebody showed me this video of him with Patricia Steer, and he says, if I ever come out and say the Earth isn't flat, then you know that I've been spoken to. I've been right. So people need to be careful when they say things like that, because you might be operating on incorrect assumptions, right? So for me, I don't think I ever said that particularly, but if I ever did, let's say I did say, oh, I'm so sure about the flat Earth, well, that would have been contingent on things like the South being a lie, right? So if somehow you're able to find out that the South isn't a lie, which I was able to find out, then everything that you believe is based off of that. It's a contingent on that. So it's just got to be careful. I'm sure Tiger Dan is the same thing. I'm sure that he had something in his mind that he believed to be true. Then he went on Patricia's show and said, hey, if I ever say that the Earth is not flat, that it's a sphere, then you know I've been spoken to. So then when he did finally come out and say that the Earth was not flat, everyone just pointed to that and said, we dismiss everything you say because you said that one time, right? So that's the thing that happens, is that people always think that they're playing with a full deck, that they everything that they believe to get them to the truth, or believe to get them to their current belief, you have to think that that's real or that it's true. I thought that the South was a lie. Once you find out that it's not, that the South Celestial Pole is just 180 degrees opposite of the North Celestial Pole, operating the same way, you then start realizing, well, it's impossible that the Earth is flat. So, I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that it's not even a possibility unless things are like the South is true. So I always thought that that was known by everybody in the community. And maybe it was at one time and it's not anymore, or maybe people have gotten over that fact. But that was the most surprising thing, is once I was like, hey, the South is the opposite. And like, so what? Like, Well, I mean, it's not. There's no lie there. It's exactly what they tell us. Yeah. So what? The Earth's still flat? Like, no. I don't think you get it. There's a South Pole. There's a South Celestial Pole. There's a North Pole. There's a North Celestial Pole. They're 180 degrees apart from each other. People looking at it from Australia and I'm looking at it from South America. If we walk towards the South Celestial Pole, we'll run into each other.
Yeah, but Winston told me I just have to walk through a window and look at it from the other side.
Right.
So before becoming a flat earther, what was your general outlook on science and conspiracies? Were you skeptical by nature, or was it flat earth that flipped your worldview?
No, I think I was always skeptical, but I think that's growing up religious, right? So if you grow up religious, you're kind of told some things about science aren't true, evolution, things like that. So I think that kind of plays into it, and then. But I didn't have a problem. There wasn't I didn't actively deny it. I was a store manager for a drugstore. I operated 100 employees and ran the pharmacy, ran the front store. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a lot of time to research things. I remember my friend came in one time and said 9/11 was an inside job, and I told him, get the hell out of here. Don't ever talk to me again. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't even know how that makes any sense. And so you just kind of dismiss those things. So it wasn't like I was very conspiracy minded at that time. I certainly didn't hear that and go, oh, that must be true. Yeah. And then you have time to research at home, and you start looking in the internet, and then you can find things that, again, is that confirmation bias, or is it actually the case? A lot of things I have to relook at, that's for sure. So I don't really stand on anything right now other than the things that I know for sure. And so everything else I can speculate, and I'll at least point that out as speculation, and then explain to people who ask the question why I'm not at a place yet to give a definitive answer, or why there might be some things that need to be looked at a little closer. So at least that line of my thinking has totally changed. And that just happened on the trip. I mean, really, I describe it as a mental block. There's something in your brain that, and we're actually seeing this now with this whole thing with Mark Sargent kind of unfolding, and the whole thing with the lawsuits brought by, or not lawsuits, the cease and desist brought by the three others. Right. So now we're kind of seeing this play out, and it's going to be interesting to see if people realize that their research is just not good. Because, I mean, what happens in Flat Earth is somebody like Mark will make a statement, I think Patricia, because she got a car, she bought a new car a month before she left the Flat Earth, and then he's just telling everybody that's the going story, is that she got a car for flipping on Flat Earth. And so that's not good research, and it's not even it has no evidence. It's just people saying things. And so hopefully people realize why you shouldn't do that, and why it's not great to build your entire case around things that are speculation.
So you said you grew up religious. Do you mind asking what particular, what did that look like?
Yes, I was, I was a grown up Catholic and was very big into it up until I was about 16. I was head altar server. I was, head of the youth group. I worked in the rectory. I was very good friends with priests. My mom was head of liturgy and music at the church there. I went to Catholic school, went to Catholic high school. So it was pretty full on.
And did any of you being religious, did that anything like that push you towards flat Earth? Because obviously there's a lot of biblical flat earthers, but was anything in religion, did flat Earth show up in that at all?
I guess I'm trying to think if the idea of being a theist comes. So I was Catholic. My wife was raised Bible believing Christian. When we were married for a couple of years, then we started talking about having kids, and then we started talking about how we would raise them, and it got to the question of religion. And she's like, well, we got to teach them from the Bible. And I was like, wait, hold on. The Bible's written by man. She goes, no, the Bible's God's word. So then we realized we had this little disagreement there. So that's when we kind of came to the conclusion that, hey, we need to be able to look into this ourselves. And I remember laying in bed and holding hands and praying to God, give us a year to look outside the Bible, to actually do some research. And if you're true, we'll come back to you. And it was, fairly quickly that we both came to the conclusion that the Bible was written by man, and that it seemed to describe a God that we shouldn't pay homage to. And so that's kind of the point that we got to. And then when we saw Flat Earth, it was kind of oh shoot, is the Flat Earth going to bring us back to God? And then it just didn't really match with, again, the same God of the Bible. So we were able to dismiss that. So I don't think it had much to do with it. although again, I think if somebody asked me, what are you today? And I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a theist. It's a combination of things. It's a deist. It's plus, it's just on my own personal religion. I guess I'm not subscribing to anybody else's religion. It's kind of my own. But none of that had anything to do with flat Earth. And in fact, to me, it didn't matter what the Bible said at all. In fact, the Bible, I expect it to be a flat Earth book. I expect that the people who wrote it at the time where people thought the Earth was flat. So that never surprised me. I never felt like it was worth bringing up. And in fact, I would think it was extremely weird if the Bible said that the Earth was a sphere. I would think that's very strange, because how would they have known that? Mm-hmm. So, that's why I think it was expected. Now, yeah, come 2016-ish, 17 is when a lot of Christians started to pick up on it. And I always knew that was a problem. You can go back and find me saying that a long time ago, that it was a problem, because I saw those people come in and they didn't care about research. They didn't care about the evidence behind it, or they just were like, no, the Bible says it and therefore it's true. Kind of like what Dean Odell said, right? They could have 15 suns doing whirlabouts in the sky and God's word is true. It's like, well, that should tell you there's a problem with God's word if you find 15 suns in the sky. You might want to
not what
that.
He said a few months before, though, is it? He was one of the first one to say out loud, if we go there and see a 24-hour sun, then it's a globe. He said that, and then, it was Satan, and it doesn't matter what's there. And I want to take MC2 out behind a bike shed or something.
Yeah, I want to take him into the woodshed and give him spankings or something. So, I forgot what he said, but something like that.
I think he said it wasn't now old Dean or something, or whatever. I'm not sure. That was weird.
Oh, yeah, old Dean might come out, which is scary. We don't want to know old Dean. No, and that's a problem too, right? Is that if you have a religious belief like that, then you're allowed to deviate from reality in the way that he has, which is basically saying, no, if reality worked this way, it would tell us this, and if it worked this way, it would tell us that. And then when something goes against what you want to believe, then you can just easily input Satan, and your story's done. You just say, oh, no, actually, it was Satan that did it. So that's why it's a scary proposition sometimes, these people who put a little too much emphasis into their religion. And I don't mind people's religion. You can have whatever religion you want. But you can't think that you are allowed in scientific discussions or scientific debates because you are saying you believe in something without evidence. That's kind of the idea. So to me, the people that should be in scientific discussions are the ones that are bringing various evidences forward, and then we get to choose, or not we, but as people can choose which one better matches reality, because whatever claim better matches reality is probably the true claim. So
but flat earthers and reality is a tenuous connection, isn't it? Right. So when you became a flat earther, what were your initial experiences interacting with other flat earthers? Were they welcoming, supportive, or did you quickly notice the toxicity and paranoia?
I guess it took about a year. I'd say the first year was pretty good. That would be, so I made my first video in February of 2015, and it was after I saw Mark Sargent's videos. My wife was telling me to make videos for a month or two before that, and I just said, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be the face of this. I don't want to come out and say that I think the Earth's flat.
Wait, so your wife made you start it as well? It was the same with mine. I kept talking to her about flat. She's like, I don't care, just make some videos, Craig.
So my wife was saying, she was just like, you got to make videos. You got to ask people, to explain this and explain that. But I mean, I was so just unknowledgeable when it came to the entire subject. I mean, I remember us walking around my bedroom with, she was holding a globe, and and we were trying to figure out how the shadow on the moon came from the Earth. And I remember worrying about it for an hour or two, and then we kind of did further. And then I was like, wait a second, I don't even think that's what it is. And I was like so shocked. I was like, my whole life I thought that that's what caused the phases of the moon, was the shadow from the Earth. So, then you get over that and you're like, okay, that's not true. So then you start to, and that's the great thing about this, is I've heard a lot of people saying recently, like, Jeran must be a plant. He was here the whole time because he knows too much about the globe. It's like, no, I was learning. This whole 10 years, I was learning. I was hearing what was being said. I was looking at the alternative positions, but just wasn't really taking them as fact, but I was still learning it. So I understand the heliocentric model. I understand the globe model. I don't think I fully grasped its completeness as far as, the Earth being mapped perfectly. There's, you're not going to call anybody who's going to say, hey, SunCalc doesn't match my local sunrise and sunset. No, it does match. And so the sphere is the only thing that we can map the Earth on that works, and it works flawlessly. Or, again, I don't want to say that because then people find one little thing that's off by 3, minutes, and they're like, see, Jeran said it's flawless, but it's off by 3 minutes here.
Well, that's
Like,
the thing,
okay,
you know, as technology advances, things get more and more accurate. Like when they did the more recent measurements of the size of the sun, they had to adjust the path of the of totality by a few hundred meters because
Right.
they were more accurate with their measurements. But flat earthers will take that and go, see, you were wrong about everything. And then go back
Right.
to saying, well, we used to say the sun was this far away, then we said it was this far away. But they
Right.
kind of ignore the fact that technology evolves with the rest of us. As society evolves, so does technology, and we get better, we get more accurate. It doesn't mean we were wrong, we were just less accurate.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to say that you're wrong. Science is the constant updating of the best claims that match, the observation. So, to me, I don't expect perfection from science. That's why I don't say that science can prove things, because I don't think it can, and that would be wrong of us to ever say, okay, now something is proven. So I keep telling people too, I'm open to the Earth being flat. I would never be, I'm completely shut down. It's just I now know at this point that there is not going to be anything coming forward. That I've seen it all. I've been here 10 years. I've seen what the flat Earth can do and what it can't do, what would be contingent upon it being true, and none of that is true. So it is what it is. That and people should recognize that. Getting back to what I was saying about a map, is at first I always thought, okay, well, maybe the AE map isn't correct, but something will work out. Somebody will come up with a map, and then kind of erasing the slate and saying, okay, let's pretend there is no AE map and let's start drawing a map. Well, the things that you put down on the map will immediately show you that, oh shit, it's an AE map again, because that's the only thing it can be, right? You have the North Pole, you have the North Celestial Pole, you've got the tropics, you've got the equator. So once you put those down on the paper and you start throwing down the continents where the continents must be, you have an AE map. So once the AE map's been debunked, once it's been falsified, the entirety of flat Earth or the even possibility of that being true are all falsified. So while I say I'm open to it, meaning that, yeah, sure, bring the evidence, I also know that I've spent 10 years trying to find that evidence, and it's just non-existent and won't be coming forward. So once people, I think, realize that, I think maybe that'll help a little bit in getting some of these people to cool their tits, if you will. But they are right now very upset, and I get it. They're upset at me. They think that I'm a traitor. They think that I'm a Judas or whatever. But they should recognize it. Say again?
You CIA plant you.
Yeah. I just want them to recognize that, no, I did my Unplugged series trying to show them, here's all the reasons. It's not just one reason. You can't just say, oh, Jeran saw the sun and flipped. No, it's all these things. And there's, and now even finding out things now that I didn't even realize before, like the longitude problem with a degree of longitude in the south is insane. I mean, it's simply on a flat Earth, you're talking about, like in southern Australia, 150 miles between 1 degree of longitude. And on the globe model, it's like 55. So you're talking about a 3-to-1 ratio, meaning that, in Australia, somebody would have to get in their car to drive to their friend's house 50 miles away and say, okay, I'll be there in an hour. And then they would show up 3 hours later and be like, wait, what the hell happened? Why'd that take me? That's the longest 50 miles of my life. So we have to be smart enough to recognize that those things would have been found out immediately. They wouldn't have been able to be hidden from people. And then I heard people say, well, that's the land, but maybe they just added it to the water. Like, well, if that's true, then there's a 6-to-1 ratio out in the water. So now you're talking about a boat saying, hey, we're going to go down here. We're just going 50 miles, but they actually have to go.
Fuel doesn't last that long.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things. And then when you get down to the Antarctica, it's ridiculous. I think down to 80 degrees, you're talking 13 miles versus 200. That's the ratio. So you're almost talking about a 20-to-1 ratio. And then if you get down to like 88 degrees or something like that, then it's like 3 miles versus 260 or something like that. So
the fact that there's any flat earthers in the Southern Hemisphere is always going to be confusing.
It's shocking. It is shocking now, especially something I didn't grasp fully. I mean, I understood that they would say, oh, the sun sets south of west and the sun rises south of east in the south. But literally, the truth is that the sun sets right to left for everybody in the south, always. And it sets left to right for everybody in the north, always. You can look at the AE map, and right away, that disqualifies it. Because the AE map has the sun going in a clockwise formation at all times. What would ever cause a sun to set right to left just because you passed the equator line and went south? So clearly there's a lot of things that I think I should have seen if I wouldn't have been so full of myself that, like, okay, once you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, the flat earth is true. It just is true, period. What did that come from?
You okay there?
Sorry, I don't know what. Yeah, it's just an orange light just turned on right there. Anyway, that's basically it. Is that it should be clear to people, and I understand that it was to a lot of you, and I think that's why you guys have fun with it more. And because as flat earthers, we didn't watch your videos because you're just demeaning to flat earthers, right? So why would we watch? We don't watch Tune because you're just demeaning. And now I'm learning that because as soon as I came back and said what I said, Dave Weiss blocked me on all platforms. So what I kind of realized now is like, oh, you know what? He probably does that all the time. He just blocks everybody. So he never sees. Imagine if you are Dave Weiss and you block all these channels. So you have blocked Culture Cats. You have blocked Drunk Debunk Show. All those guys are blocked. So he never even sees you.
The only place he responds to me is in his Google app review. I keep posting there about how it's a security risk, and he will respond to me saying like, thanks for the promotion, Craig. You're obsessed or something like that. So I'll just delete my review and then write another one. It's the only time he ever responds to me.
I don't even get that anymore. So lucky you. But no, it's just now I'm kind of realizing, man, if you just go around blocking everybody, talk about, so you already have a confirmation bias. On top of that, you're in an echo chamber. On top of that, you've disqualified or erased or deleted or blocked anybody who has the alternative position. So that's a recipe for disaster. Because then what happens is when I go down and I come back and say, okay, I no longer am a flat earther. Well, to Dave, he just loses his mind because he's like, that's impossible. How could you say that with all the evidence? No, there is other evidence. You just don't see it because you block everybody. And I've tried talking to him before about some things, and he just will tell me I'm wrong or tell me that he doesn't see it that way. And we just were able to kind of coexist like that, even though I would bring things up that he was showing on his. Recently,
you tried to tell him about his app and the flight paths, right? You for a long time said that shouldn't be there because you know that Banjo's flight path stuff is wrong, but he wouldn't listen.
Correct. No, and we even tried. We even met with Banjo and myself and Witsit and just said, hey, we're looking at your book. We can at least find 12 of these 16 that are definitely mistakes that are wrong. So can you redo the book? Can you rewrite it? Can you? And he just basically said, no. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm proud of it, and I like it. And we're like, yeah, but it's not correct. You're using a 2D representation of a globe and drawing a straight line on it, and that's a straw man. Nobody believes that is the flight path of these planes, that they actually have to fly the Great Circle route. So he just didn't care, and I think that was noticeable. Did I notice that there was some issues? Yeah, for sure. Definitely coming out of I guess I should have noticed before that, but I mean, really, people like Stephen Alonso, I noticed right away.
He said, Stephen Alonso, I hate him. He wants $200 just to talk to me.
Wow. Yeah, that's the new thing, I guess, that they're going to do. Just try and get money out of it.
Som, Nathan Thompson are all demanding $200 to debate me. And I'm like, well, if you're scared, I get it.
Right. Yeah. And they're going to do that. They're going to just try but yeah, Stephen Alonso, when he came along and was saying, as soon as I heard somebody say all flat models predict the 24-hour sun, I'm like, wait, what? No flat models predicted. What are you talking about? But then I started hearing flat earthers say it, and that's when I started to figure out, like, oh my goodness, I'm in a group of people that are just going to, basically their position is, if it's a globe earther saying it, it's a lie. If a flat earther is saying it, it must be true. And then seeing how many things were being lied about in the flat earth, I realized the issue. I mean, if you've got somebody going around saying all flat models predict a 24-hour sun, which is in no way even close to being true, and then you hear people start repeating it, and they're saying it with fervor, they're saying it with surety, they're being assholes in Facebook comments, and you're just like, oh man, this is in trouble. This is trouble. Because how are you going to convince those people that they're wrong? If you have a belief and you're like, okay, anything that doesn't match my belief is a lie, and anything that matches my belief is the truth, then how would you ever in the million years get out of a faulty belief? It'd be pretty impossible. So that's, I think, the position that a lot of these people are in now. They see me, so they look at me and they're like, what? We already know flat earth is true, so how can Jeran do this if he knows it's true? And I've always said from day one, you can't say that. That's not a science position to say that, I know for a fact that I'm true, I'm right, and there's nothing else. And people could look at me now and say, well, now you're saying that about the globe. And the difference is, again, like I said, there isn't a lot of contingencies here built into the globe. I don't have to say, the South has to be alive for the globe to be true. No. At this point, the things that I've already verified myself without any authority, without NASA, without anybody, those things are true, which make the Earth a sphere. Therefore, I know it's a sphere. And if I'm wrong, well, then somebody will bring evidence that I'm wrong. I just don't see that happening.
So when you were a flat earther, was there any time that you privately doubted flat Earth whilst you were still vehemently defending it? Was there any kind of internal conflict?
I think with things that you didn't understand, but I don't think I doubted whether the Earth was flat or not.
No?
Not.
Okay.
I mean, if you're talking about the last year, maybe, or maybe a little bit, but I still even think going down to Antarctica, I still felt strongly that there would be something that we would uncover there, something that would be, at least something to come back and say, okay, yeah, we saw the sun, but this happened, and it would be like more information for us to get closer. So I don't think I ever doubted it as much as I should have. But I mean, yeah, so think like when Jake, the asshole back in 2017, started talking about the sun setting south of west, even then it wasn't like I doubted the flat Earth. It was, well, I know that the AE map must be close, it must be kind of the truth. And so if something's happening on that we can't explain, well, there must be some explanation for it. And I was able to just take my little half dome of glass and kind of showed it a light. And then if I moved it a little bit, it would make the light displace left or right. And I just was able to say, okay, so it's something to do with some sort of, whether it's the atmosphere or whether it's a dome, for some reason we're seeing the sun go a different direction than we think it should go. And I was just able to dismiss it for that. But, looking back now, all those things were things that should have been dug into. And I think that's what's missing from the flat Earth, right? So when something comes up that doesn't match, like for instance, the flat Earth has never been able to explain the southern stars, ever. It's just something that people can talk around, or they can say something that kind of gets onto the next subject, but there is no answer for the southern stars. So that should have been a sign right away to me that, okay, let's look into this fully, because if this can't be explained, then we know that the Earth isn't flat. Instead, it was like, well, I know the Earth's flat and this can't be explained, so I'm just going to shelve it.
Yeah.
Somebody can get to it. Somebody will figure it out. Somebody will find the right answer. And that's not the proper way to go about it. And then what you have is people coming into the movement. And of course, nobody's going to sit them down and say, hey, here's the things that we can't explain. They're very cocky. So they tell people like, we know the Earth is flat and we have all the evidence, and our model works and their model doesn't. And a lot of people don't have time to look into things. They don't have time to research. So they hear that. And again, the crazy thing about the globe is that it is counterintuitive. It doesn't match our senses, which doesn't make something true or false. It just makes it very easy to get somebody off of the idea and onto a different idea. If you say, hey, I know you believe the Earth is a sphere the whole time, but actually we've found out that it's flat, or our evidence has shown that it's flat. Well, many people are going to think of that if they don't have an education, or they are not dealing with the globe Earth in some way in their life.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get that person to say, oh, wait, you're right. That doesn't match my senses. And I was just believing it because I was told in school. Therefore, this other idea has a possibility. But then when you go to look into it and there's nobody really explaining the issues with it, right? It's only people promoting it. It's only people talking about it and saying that it's true. Then I feel bad for those people, because those people are going to come into that belief and that nobody's going to tell them, oh, by the way, we don't really have an explanation for the southern stars. Oh, by the way, there's no explanation for the south celestial or the circumpolar stars. Oh, by the way, there's no reason why the sun would do a straight line over your head on the equator, but not, on the south side or the north side. Yeah. Those things are just impossible to explain, and yet we just kind of gloss over them. And I think that also some things are just not explained well. And so people, like for instance, let's talk about water curving real quick. Okay. So flat earthers always say, that water doesn't curve, it finds its level. And I think that then you kind of look at a glass of water, or you look at a swimming pool, or whether it's a Olympic-sized swimming pool, and everybody can look at that, and again, that looks like it lays level, or lays flat. And then what it took me realizing is that you have to zoom into the Earth, draw a sphere of 39, 59 miles, and then start zooming into the person size, and then you realize that everywhere you are on the Earth is flat. Now, it's not exactly flat, right? I mean, we don't have the equipment to actually even determine that. It's so slight. I forgot what, it's an eighth of an inch at 660 feet, which is 2 football fields. So to think that you would ever see that much curve is insane. You would never see that.
No,
and we
1
don't
degree in
have
69
anything
miles. There's nothing. We don't have a human sense that allows us to perceive that. Unless we're super far away from it, And that's what people like Kevin are never going to understand with his whole buildings are flat argument. Well, yeah, they are, because they're small compared to the Earth. So
Correct. Yeah, they don't get that because they really don't get that you could, a Home Depot, let's say it's level, it's flat, you've leveled it, that you could just keep building Home Depots and you would come back to where you started and every Home Depot would be level.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes from a flat earther, they're like, well, wait, so where does the Home Depot bend? Well, it doesn't. The Home Depot itself doesn't bend. Now, if you're talking about in the minutest detail, yeah, sure, it might be bending a half of a 16th of an inch or something, but you never notice that. We don't even have the equipment to verify that. It just is.
Yeah,
And so
the equipment to
when
make
you talk
it
about
has
water,
a larger margin of error, right, than the curve of the Earth. So
Right.
even if your equipment is telling you that, according to your equipment, it's completely flat, well, that equipment still has a margin of error. It's not
Right.
completely perfect, and that margin of error is larger than the curve of the Earth over the area that it's being built. So that building's flat to you and to the people that built it, but like you said, put a bunch of them next to each other, they'll be stacked up with no gap in between. They still go around the Earth and come back.
correct. And I think that just isn't explained well enough. Maybe in school, I don't know. I think it's school's job, but even by you guys, and I get why, because you're entertaining people. So it's not so much of I need to teach these guys, and you probably knew the reason why you don't do that is because you're not going to change the mind of a lot of flat earthers. So it doesn't really do any good to go to that basics and try and explain, because they're just not listening to you anyway. So you're actually doing your show for your audience. Yeah. But
there is ones.
to,
I will sometimes I'll be debating someone. I'll be like, this person can be saved, and I'll be very, very different with them. But if I'm debating someone like Santos Bonacci or Flatzoid, I'm not going to take them seriously. Like, what's the point? I'm just going to have a lot of fun with that. But there's been hundreds of people that I've debated that I'm like, what? I'm going to take this a little bit easier because I think this person's maybe just a bit confused. And I've had many of them come to me afterwards and be like, yeah, you were right. I'm sorry. I even had...
Yeah, and I think that's true with you, and it's true with Toon as far as how you guys handled me. If you guys had gone at me like you went after some other people, maybe there would have never been even a conversation, right? But because that wasn't the case, then I was open to having little chats with you back and forth. You going back on what you were saying about the east-west being circles was huge to me, because it was like, okay, this guy actually is willing to change his position if it's shown to him that he's wrong. So,
absolutely.
And again, it doesn't prove the shape of the Earth. It was just a matter of the way that we're talking about it. But I think that Toon was the same thing. When Toon and I started talking on the site, he just basically said, hey, why don't we do something where we have like a conversation, it doesn't have to be a debate. And we did that. I guess it was about 2 years ago at this point. But and I could just tell that he wasn't attacking me, wasn't calling me stupid on his shows and things. So I was like, okay, I'll give this guy a chance. But that is huge, because it allowed me to listen to some of the things I probably wouldn't have otherwise listened to.
Yeah.
And I think some of those things are important. So as far as water curving, what I think people can't grasp again. Well, one of the things I wanted to mention, if we had a 660-foot level, which there isn't one, and in fact, there's no rigid piece of anything 660 feet long that we would ever use for building anything. But if there was, even that would only have an 1/8 inch of curve in 660 feet. So, I mean, that's still going to show a bubble that is right in the middle of the level. So, even that 660-foot level isn't going to help you with the shape of the Earth. So, I think, because think about what flat earthers' biggest proofs are right now. They are the water lies flat and level, the ground's measured level below our feet, we see too far. Like, all three of those are globe claims. They're all three of them are true on the globe. The water finds its level, yes. And we don't need to look over there for the level here. We would level everything here, and then we go over there, and then it's level there. So you have that. You have the things are measured level between our flat below our feet, yes, because we live on a giant sphere, in which case the places that we're small enough that those are still level. And so it seems to me that it's just a misunderstanding, right? Because if you really think about it, it's not like Flat Earth has a bunch of proofs that are exclusive. They have things they think are proofs, but they're actually claims that the globe makes that you just have to understand why it's not like you think of it, right? They always, everybody's upside down. It's like, no, nobody's upside down, because we all have the down is somewhere different. It's all the center of the Earth, but nobody's upside down. In order to be upside down, you would have to have, basically all have the same, here's my ground, and then you're upside down compared to my ground. No, when you're talking about somebody at the top of a globe and the bottom of a globe, well, it's on a globe. So they're not upside down if you understand what a globe is. So I think it's just little things like that that are misunderstanding. The 1,000-mile-per-hour spin. another thing, just a complete misunderstanding. Even for myself, it's something that when you hear 1,000 miles per hour, you're like, that's fast. We're flying. Why wouldn't we fly off? And then, I think it was somebody who really got me to think when they said, you want to see how fast the Earth spins? Watch the moon, watch the sun. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
like, that's how fast you're spinning. And then you go outside, you're looking at it, you're like, oh shit. Like, it's so slow that you can't even see it move. I mean, if you're in space, you wouldn't even see the Earth spinning.
You'd look at it for a day to see it spin. And that's the thing. They get confused by a big number and think, well, it must be spinning like some kind of spinning top, But that's not. It's just because the Earth is so big. For our system of measurement of miles, the Earth has to move that many miles at the equator in an hour. But that's just because that's what we've decided to measure it in. So therefore, it's a big number. It doesn't mean the Earth is rotating fast, and I'll try and take them through the maths. This is the centrifugal acceleration at the equator, and you can see it's 0.03 meters per second squared compared to...
even there, though, that's where you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them as soon as you start going into numbers like that. They'll just dismiss everything you're saying. They're like, you can do anything with math, and they just remove it. So I think, I'm trying to... But I'm not doing any better job than any of you are. Obviously, they stopped listening to me a long time ago as well. So I get the problem. I know we're always.
Oh, did you contact Bev in payroll to get your check sorted, or?
I did because it's not here yet. It's been a while.
Well, I'll speak. I'll speak to. I think James is covering Bev. She's on maternity leave, so I'll have a word with James. See if we can get your check.
Another
sorted.
kid for Bev. Wow.
I know. This is the third one already. It's crazy. Yeah. Right. So when you were a flat earther, was there any argument that you defended or made yourself that you now think, good Lord, that's dumb, and I feel cringe talking about it?
All of them. No, I think I'm responsible for some of the things being said, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know if anybody ever said coffee cup caustic before me. I don't know if anybody ever said...
Oh, that was you fucking dick.
I know. Personal atmospheric dome was mine.
We had some fun with that one.
I'm embarrassed about them all. I mean, because really what you're doing is you're trying to find any excuse to still allow your belief to be true. And, if you've got a belief that's got everything just lined up perfectly and there's one thing that can't be figured out, well, then I could see somebody maybe making that stretch. But when you're just not nailing on any cylinders at all, to just keep finding these ad hoc explanations, it's kind of like what I see now going on with the Joseph Hamby's model and it's all just... like, that's not correct. I mean, it's just, they're all over the place. They're like not showing it correctly. They're just taking a little thing that kind of looks like it, saying, see, that's the answer. Yeah. So no, I mean, that's, I definitely regret a lot of the things that I pushed, for sure.
And in the same way, do you feel bad about the people that have then taken your arguments and been like, well, Jeran showed me that the Earth is flat? Do you feel some guilt around that?
Yeah, or else I would have just left. I mean, you kind of want to stay around because, as I've said, I think that everybody's responsible for their own beliefs, number one. I do believe that just because you tell me something, if I go on believing it, I'm not really sure you have any connection to or any responsibility to that. However, if you believe in some sort of karma or something like that, that if you told me something that you thought was true and you kind of vehemently told me it was true and then I start believing it, if then you stop believing it, but you don't feel like it's important to tell me, then I do think you have some sort of karmic reproduction or repercussions for that. Like, you really should make a point to tell the people that you've told that, hey, I was wrong. Kind of like when you made the video about the east and west being circles. So it's the same thing as for me now. I just have a point of making sure anybody who believes in the flat earth because of me knows that I no longer believe in it and why I no longer believe it. And then if they choose to still believe it, which most of them have, then so be it. That's on them. That's I don't have any more responsibility to that in my mind. But I still feel responsible for. I think there's a lot of people who would say that they're in flat Earth because of me. So
I certainly have dealt with a lot of flat earthers that you were the reason. I mean, a lot of the debates I've had, they would show me the videos that you have made as their evidence. I've had to constantly debunk the things that you've said in your videos over and over and over. And I'm sure you could debunk them yourself now. Probably. But I'm extremely happy that, again, I don't think happy is the right word, that you feel guilty. But in a way, it's good that you feel guilt for what you pushed onto people, because you realize that it's important to, to show the other side, right? You're damn, I've done something that was kind of stupid there, and I'd like to try and correct it. And that's a good thing, Everyone deserves a second chance, and this is your second chance, and you're doing it really, really well.
Yeah, and there's still things that I am not fully on board yet, but I think that I have a different mindset now, and that's going to be helpful looking at those things. Moon landing is one thing that I still don't think happened, but you know what? Talking with Dave McKeegan on the trip, Dave McKeegan was kind of telling me, hey, let's do something when we get back. How about, you get together with your guys, get, 6 or 10 of the best debunking or moon hoax evidence that you have, and then present it to me and let me take a week to kind of look through it and find answers for it, and then let's come together. And whereas before I probably wouldn't have been open to that at all, because I would have looked at Dave McKeegan and said, well, he's just going to lie, he's just going to, but then getting to meet him and realizing how great of a guy he is, you're just like, this guy's not lying. He's not
awesome,
lying one bit. In fact, when I hear other flat earthers say, oh, Dave McKeegan's lying about this, I'm like, man, if there's one person out there who's not telling you any lies, it's Dave McKeegan. He's just not lying. He's just being honest, giving you the honest reasons or explanations. And if he makes a mistake, he'll go on his show and immediately say it. I'm at this point open to having that conversation, which we're going to do soon. I think he's close to being back from vacation or something. And then we're going to present that info. And I'm at least open to being wrong. I understand that there would have been a lot of confirmation bias in that as well. It certainly is something that I've always thought that didn't happen. So it's very easy, again, to find the evidence that it didn't. And so when you don't pass that by somebody who has a better understanding than you, then you're going to have incorrect beliefs. But there might be some things that we present to him that he's not able to answer, in which case maybe he moves more towards the it didn't happen. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Did you see my debate with Alex Stein in New Jersey?
I did. I watched that one. That was pretty good.
That was Alex Stein is an interesting person.
He is, very much so.
Yeah.
I would give him that. But no longer a flat earther, though.
No, he was telling me that because of you,
Okay.
we had quite a long chat about it, actually. We were outside getting stoned for about 20, 30 minutes talking about it, just standing out the front of the hotel, and he was saying how before he wouldn't talk to me because you and Dearth and everything were saying, oh, don't talk to him, he's just an idiot and stuff. But then you told him, well, actually, he's not that bad. Or you should have a chat with him. And next thing I know, he's adding me on Instagram and X and everything, and we're doing a debate. It was pretty cool. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of things he says and does, but he's certainly an interesting person to have around, that's for sure.
He is, and anybody who can change your mind like that is always good to me, because at least they're showing that they are open to evidence. And I think that that's the thing that people lose, is that evidence is not going to lie to you. I mean, the actual evidence that, I was going to say the evidence that leads you to the correct answer. But if you actually look at everything as evidence and with an open mind and unbiased, then I don't think you'll be led astray. The problem becomes when you start trusting people who make it sound really, they're sure of themselves. And that's what I think a lot of us did, right? So we hear from these other content creators, and I would just trust them all. So I would trust no matter what Level Earth Observer would say, or I would trust what Nick Fouquet Word would say. And you just stop looking at things critically, and you just assume, oh, I'm a good person, I'm looking at things truthfully, and so these other flat earthers are the same way. Yeah. And you're starting to realize that's not true. I mean, just what came out the other day. Well, I've always disliked the fittest flat earther, right?
Oh, but, good Lord, that guy
Globe Face was showing how he just completely blatantly lied about his location, looking across the water. Melodome and I have started to see that with the flat earthers like Nathan Thompson, who posts on Facebook, hey, I saw this city from 80 miles away, and just forgets to mention that he's 4,900 feet high, which might be the reason why you can see the city.
Do you know it was me that got Nathan Thompson arrested?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so he was live streaming, shouting at those kids. So me and my Discord figured out where he was, and I phoned the local police department, and then within an hour he was arrested.
Does he know that?
Yeah, really I told him to his face in our last debate.
I don't know. Yeah, I've never heard that before. No, right. And yeah, Alex Stein's a good guy, and he definitely believed in the flat Earth. And as soon as we got back, and we talked, and he was just like, "Oh, so it really can't be flat." No. It's like, and the map that Dave's app uses is completely wrong. Yep, can't be right. So from there, teach their own. I've just been shocked at the amount of people that can't see the importance behind the observations. That they, they'll just go to any stretch, any kind of answer that they can, well, you just don't understand the sky. It's like, well, but we do understand the sky. And if a sun is supposed to go on your map to the right and it goes to the left, and then we look around saying, is there a model that says it goes to the left? Oh, wait, the globe says so. So, I mean, if you just kind of actually look at evidence without a preconceived bias into, I need the earth to be flat. And that's the worst part, is I'm afraid that some people got into flat earth and made it really their identity. Maybe they lost family or friends, right? And then they found new so-called friends. Yeah. So then that's the problem, because then they don't want to get out because of that reason. For me, it's different. It's easier almost, because as a content creator, it would require me to lie. If I was going to, and I knew this coming back from the trip. I told Duffy in Punta Arenas when we flew back, we got off the plane. I was like, hey, Duffy, the Earth's a sphere. You should have seen his head as he snapped it back at me. It's like, what? Like,
I mean,
wow.
Duffy has told me personally how happy he is that you told him that. I think you were his main target for the final experiment. He wanted you to realize the truth. And when you said to him, the Earth's a sphere, in his head, it was like, that money that I've just spent was worth it.
Yeah, I think he kind of felt that way.
But for the moon landing, there's one thing I really want you to look into, which is the biggest bit of evidence that I use, and that's the called the Grand Prix. On the last moon landing, when they had
the dust,
the buggy, you can literally use the laws of physics, which are immutable. You can't change them, to calculate what the dust that's being kicked up is doing. And it shows two very important things. One, that it was in an area of lower gravity, and two, there was no atmosphere. So if they faked that in a massive film studio, they would have had to change the gravity and remove all the air from the film studio. And no matter how fast or slow you play it, the physics of what's happening is still happening. And I've never heard an argument against that. And in fact, I've had 3 people that I've debated about the moon landing say, right, that convinced me.
So the argument that I would put forward now is that I've heard that they think that a lot of that cart stuff, or with the little rover, was done in a miniature. So that so could you take a miniature area and create a vacuum area and also adjust somehow so that the vacuum inside there? So I do think that would be possible. I'm not saying that is the case. Again, I'm willing to look at everything, but I have heard that the dust falls, and you've actually modeled it, right?
I've done the maths and you tracked like about 6 particles that I could actually get and see what they do, and they all follow a parabolic trajectory that you can even derive the gravitational acceleration on the moon from. Which, let's say it was a miniature in a little thing, you still couldn't change what gravity is doing. And just reducing the size and having smaller arcs is still not going to show the gravity that you would get. You would still be able to figure out that's 9.8 meters per second, right? So for me, that's the biggest one, that when you actually go through it properly and look at the analysis, it makes it completely impossible for it to have been anywhere other than the moon or another asteroid with low gravity. Who knows?
Gotcha. Yep, we'll look into that. And then, because there's some that I have that are my kind of go-tos. And, I know Dave will look into it fully. I see some areas where I've shown that there's no parallax on some of the side mountains on the on the cart ride. You can look to the side, and then you see that there's no parallax happening. But he actually will know. He'll pull in the distances of the mountains and everything. So.
Dave says, "I'll never forget the moment Jeran came up to me and Toon at Punta Arenas and shook our hands and said the Earth has to be a sphere."
Yeah.
There's quite a few people in there. We've got Shifty Shadies, we've got Simon Dam, we've got Conspiracy Cats. All out to see you. Yeah.
Hi guys, how's everybody? No, everybody was great. I mean, I have no complaints about anybody, and I knew that even despite everybody calling him a Satanist and everything else, when I talked to Duffy, he basically just said, I don't like the way this is going with both sides not listening to each other. You'll never get anywhere. You'll never get to the bottom of anything. I'm just trying to bring people together to where if we do it together and we have the same mindset, that we'll get to some answer. And I knew that he was a glober, but I also knew that he was open at least to saying, if we find something anomalous, then maybe the other is true. So I felt like, okay, well, that's what I expect. I want, that's what I want from somebody. So, and it's funny because I always said way back in the day, way at the beginning, I was like, this will only be settled once there's a rich Christian that comes along that's willing to pay for flat earthers to go and find out.
Well, I'm trying to convince Duffy to send me to space. I'm sure he could get us a seat on Blue Origin or something, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I told him the other day I didn't believe in Antarctica again. I'm like, I don't think I believe. I want to go back.
Yeah, I need to go again. Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't believe in like beachfront houses in Mexico.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's.
I don't believe in £1 million appearing in my bank account. You better show me that can happen.
There's no way that's true. Yeah.
Right. So when you were a flat earther, can you pinpoint the first moment that you thought, hold on, maybe flat Earth isn't making sense?
I mean, the whole time there was things that were issues with it, but I just figured they would be figured out. I already believed that the Earth was flat. So that is the problem, is that once you've adopted that as your, okay, the Earth is flat, and then you've got all these people cheering you on, people emailing you saying, hey, don't stop because we can't say it because we can't say it for a job. In fact, there's, I never even thought about if I should say those names now. So there's some celebrities types people that came forward that basically said, hey, keep doing this because we can't talk about it and we do think there's something there. And so that kind of encourages you to, you almost think like, oh, that's my mission. My mission is to get this information out. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? So you almost feel like you're like saving humanity or something. So it's just I know it's silly to look back at it. In that time, it felt real. It felt legit.
Yeah.
There's something that happens.
I've always said that flat earthers, it seems to me that they feel special because they have knowledge that nobody else has. And I always thought that would be very hard to get out of. Okay, yeah.
The only part I disagree with that, though, is because if that were true, then why would they tell everybody? So, for instance, if you have special knowledge that you feel special because you have the knowledge nobody else does, then you would keep it to yourself. Whereas we had special knowledge and we're like, we want to get it out there. We want everybody to know it. So it's not, maybe you're saying the same thing, but when I hear special knowledge, I feel like, oh, special, I want to keep it. Whereas we were, to me, it just looked like, okay, so I think the world's in disarray. Everything's kind of going in every direction, falling apart. People falling, and then you kind of hear this flat earth thing. You're like, oh, that could solve everything. Yeah. If everybody realizes we've been lied to on this massive level, and that's possible, then people would come together. We would rebuild structures correctly. Again, it's a false idea, but and I think that once you start believing that they're lying to you from school, that becomes a problem, right? I mean, you then start thinking, well, everything I learned is false, and everything that we hear is false. And this is why. The funniest thing about being a truther, or the saddest thing about being a truther, is that you end up not knowing any truth. That's where the end of the road of a truther is. Yeah. Because when you start disagreeing with everything, you start saying everything's fake. Every event that happens in the news is fake. Every shooting's fake. Trump didn't get shot. It was all a hoax. So from that point, you call yourself a truther, and you no longer have the ability to even believe in truth. In fact, if you were somebody who's a truther and you're like, you know what, I think Trump was shot. Yeah, sure, all these other things are fake. Let's pretend that all the other ones were. But the one thing that you decide maybe isn't, if you speak up and say that in a truther circle, they will make fun of you. Yeah. So if you tell if you're a truther or a flat earther and you tell somebody you think Trump was shot, that does not go over well. No. It just won't even, So that's a problem.
Yeah, so I've always kind of said to people that to be a flat earther, you have to think that everyone is lying to you. Because they have to be, right? If the earth is flat, then pilots are lying to you, boat captains are lying to you, teachers are lying to you, government's lying to you, space agencies are lying to you. Everyone in the world that knows something has to be lying to you. And I kind of think that's a dangerous mindset to have, to have that paranoia almost that no one's telling me the truth about anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from a flat earther's perspective, you would look at that and say, well, pilots don't need to know the shape of the Earth to actually fly. I mean, yes, talking to Wolfie and understanding the flight plans and everything, I do get that part. But I'm saying from a flat earther's perspective, they're going to look at that and say, well, the flight would still be the same, right? If you're flying over a flat Earth or you're flying over a globe Earth, from the pilot's perspective, is he really going to notice a difference? I'm not sure you would, but it's still the everything that encompasses it, right? So you're talking about all the longitude, latitude, like all that has to be correct because it's been mapped, and you can call any of your friends and find out, and everybody's going to agree. No, whatever whatever the globe shows me or whatever the sun calc shows me, those things are correct. So I think that's where the disconnect is it's not so much because from a flat earther's perspective, they wouldn't say everybody's lying to them. They would say that everybody was lied to, and so everybody believes the lie. So that's, it's not like, oh, all professors are lying. No, it would be that the professors were taught a lie and that they're teaching you a lie, but nobody knows that it's a lie. But I think even that alone is really giving nobody any credit. If you're a flat earther, you have removed credit. You think everybody in the world is ridiculously stupid. Because now I look at it, I'm like, no, those things would have been found out immediately. How long would it take somebody to realize, hey, where I'm told I live doesn't match the observations? That's
Especially
that easy.
when you're
you
a professor or
something
something, right, and you're extremely smart, you'd be able to figure these things out, right?
Right, or if you're doing research or you're a scientist in some way, or you would eventually realize, wait, this doesn't match my observations. They say I live here on this globe, but the observations don't match. And that would be the case if we lived on a flat Earth and then they projected it or mapped it, projection onto a sphere, which is possible. The problem with that becomes the observations don't match, right?
Yeah.
If everybody was blind or there was nothing in the sky, maybe you could get away with lying to people about where they live because there would be no way for them to verify. But as soon as there is, and the way that we verify is through the stars, through the sun, through the moon. I mean, 69 miles, every north or south 69 miles, you're going to lose you're going to have the North Star raised or lower by a degree. And so that alone should tell people, like, wait, so yeah, you only can do it near your house, but call your friend in China and then call your friend in Korea. And once everybody confirms that the same is true for them, well, then you just figured out the shape of the Earth without the need of any authority. So that's kind of my point, is I want people to see that you don't need NASA, you don't need a professor, you don't need school, you don't need education. You really don't need much of that to the Earth tells us, the world tells us, the sky tells us where we live.
Okay. So within Fire, you were in it for 10 years, so I assume you made what you would have considered friends.
Oh, don't bring
right?
that up again. Can we just say it's 5? Can we say it's 5 years or 4
5
or 3?
years. Okay.
2
You've
years.
been in it for a sizable amount of time. It was a couple of days, right? But yeah.
I think it was, a couple hours, really.
You made what you would consider to be friends, right?
Formerly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And how do you feel about, obviously, we know it's been quite public, the fallout in general, but how do you feel about the way that your friends that you've made have reacted to you coming out as a glober?
I guess part of me understands. I mean, I get it that they're going to look at it as I'm a traitor. And I get it. It's just going to take years. It's going to take a certain amount of time until they realize the truth, and then they're going to look back and realize they were wrong about me. So maybe at that time I can expect people to say, hey, sorry, or hey, I feel bad for what I said. But for now, I just get it that there's, in order for them to understand why I left, that takes them understanding the Earth isn't flat. So otherwise, they're not going to get it. I mean, if you're somebody who believes the Earth is flat and the sphere is a lie, and then you see somebody like me who's done this for 10 years, and then now I'm switching sides, the only possibility for them is to say that I'm a traitor, I've been paid off, I've been compromised, I've been threatened. So I have to understand that that's going to be their response. And because the alternative to that is to say, oh, wait, Jeran left for a good reason. What's his good reason? Oh, I have to actually go watch his videos. Oh, all those things do make sense. Oh, now I know that the Earth isn't flat. So how many people are actually going to do that? Like I said, they don't even listen to your content. So if I'm doing videos that I'm like 20 reasons we know the Earth is a sphere, they're not going to watch that. They're just not going to watch it because you don't watch things that are going to possibly jeopardize your current belief system. So I guess I understand where they're coming from. Some of the nonsense that's been said or some of the lies and things like that, I obviously have a problem with those. That's just going beyond what's acceptable. I can understand if they said, hey, we just don't want to talk about him anymore. He's a traitor, and move on from there. But to make up new lies, or Dave Weiss telling people I'm going to get a house, or I got a house, so I'm getting a house for turning my back on flat Earth, or whatever is being said, is just nonsense. It's dangerous too. It is dangerous when you tell people things like that, because then what they think is they turn you into a criminal, right? So before they thought, oh, Jeran, somebody who's pushing the truth, this and that. Then if Dave tells them I'm getting a house then they look at me like, oh, this guy's a traitor. He's a turncoat. He's, he should be destroyed. He should be taken out. That's the mindset of people when you've now pushed me into the category of I'm some sort of criminal, or I'm working with criminals or something like that. And I think that's the biggest eye-opening thing to me, is that I also thought of a lot of the globe earthers as people who would sit around and talk about how can we get rid of the flat Earth, how can we go against it. Whereas when I started talking to you guys and just realized you're just regular people, and then I saw the guys go down to Antarctica and they were all like on the ball. They were just, they had what they wanted to do in mind. They had all their equipment. They were just very together. And I think that, and I don't mean together like I just mean in their head. So I think for flat earthers, they need to recognize that. They need to see that, because now what's happened, here's what's going on now. So everybody got out of Earth because they thought they were being lied to about the shape of the Earth. And they immediately say, well, you're saying it's a globe, so you're lying to us about the shape of the Earth. Well, what happened in that time is that now the actual flat earthers, the ones who are the content creators there, they're the ones lying about the shape of the Earth. So now the people that got into this because they were afraid they were being lied to are actually on the side of the liars and calling the people telling the truth as the liars, which is that's scary, because I mean now you've got everything backwards. Now everything that somebody's saying that's the truth, you immediately say is a lie, and everything that you think is the truth is turning out to be a lie. So people need to relook at things, the distances to mountains, these observations that are made too far. Again, that's another thing. Flat earthers think we see too far, and we do. If you're talking about geometrically, if you're talking about the geometry of it, and you're like, you should only see this far, and then we can see a little bit past that. But the globe has a reason for that. Yeah. And the atmosphere does allow things to bend over the curve, and we've shown that. I mean, Melodome showed it the other day with just a globe and a simple piece of lens. And it's funny because we already had flat earthers coming out saying, well, you can't do that. You put a lens in between. It's like, okay, listen, that's what we've used as our explanation for, Rob Skiba was allowed to use that for, this is why the sun sets. This is why there's light under clouds. And it's just funny how they change up so quickly. It's like, remember you can't look in the sky to get the shape of the ground. Well, now the new thing is the celestial theodolite. They're going around saying this is proof that the Earth's flat. It's like, wait, hold on. Yeah. You're talking about looking in the sky now to figure out the shape of the ground. So clearly flat earth is like wearing their nonsense is being exposed right on their sleeve, because what they're basically saying is any evidence that goes against us isn't accepted, and evidence that goes with us will always be accepted. So, I mean, that's okay. And you'll never, ever get off that belief. You'll just stick to it forever, because in order to get off of a faulty belief, you have to accept the alternative side's position. You need to say, oh, that is true, so my spot is wrong. But if you already deemed everything that comes out of your camp as false, how that's the scary part. How do you ever get out of that?
Yeah. All right, guys, in a little bit, we're going to be taking some questions from the audience. So make sure you get your super chats in, or tag me, or hit me up on Discord, or you could just write on a note and then wrap the note on a brick, tie it to the brick, and then throw it from my window. I'm sure I'll get it. It's okay. Super chats is obviously the easiest way because it shows up to me, but I'm sure Jeran will be happy to answer your questions. Jeran, Indeed. Is there any flat earther that their reaction to you leaving has surprised you in any way?
That has surprised me in any way. I mean, just not really fully understanding what was going on. I mean, with Conspiracy Music Guru was one that I thought was strange, but I mean, I guess I get it that basically he did all my jingles, if people don't know that, things for different segments of my show. And when I got back and was back just a couple of weeks, hadn't talked to him, but reached out to say, hey, I want to do this jingle. And usually I would just give him the backtrack, the lyrics, and then he would say, okay, yeah, sounds good, do it, and we were all good. And then this time he kind of pulled back and said, oh, well, I'll have to charge you now that you're a globe believer. And I kind of thought about it. I'm like, okay, I get that, I guess. And I would always do things like have the audience donate to him or put his name on the screen. I wouldn't necessarily pay him cash for it. But he said, you'll have to charge me. I was like, okay, I get it. And then he came back the next day and said, I thought about it, and I don't want to be involved in the division, because basically so anyway, I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, is this guy, I thought we were friends, but now it's like you're only, okay, but I only deal with people that have the same belief. So that was kind of a weird one to me. And then to see that he posted some Santos Bonacci nonsense just was kind of the kicker, that I realized, okay, so these guys really do not have a connection like a real friend would, right? So to me, it's totally different. Like if, let's say, Conspiracy Music Guru went on a trip, came back and said, hey, Jeran, just so you know, I was down there and I looked at the sun and I kind of think the Earth's a sphere now. To think that I would then say, okay, you do, and then start sharing anti-him stuff or people, it's just not the person I am. I would never have been like that. And I guess I didn't really see that would happen. I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's people now from all over saying things, what's her name? Shelley Lewis, somebody who I've gone down to Salt and Sea because she was doing a movie and wanted me to go down there and be part of it. Drove down there on my own dime for that. Went back down to LA for the premiere of the movie. I've helped her with sunsets before. I did interviews with her in Dallas and in Denver. And then, when I came out and said that I thought I was no longer a flat earther, she immediately said, "Oh, Jeran's been a plant the whole time, and he's compromised and all this stuff." And it's just like, none of these people called me. So I guess that's something that's strange. You would think before you would say something like that, "Oh, this guy's been a plant the whole time," when obviously I've done things out of the goodness of my heart for you. I've actually traveled for you. You would think that person would call me first and say, "Hey, can you explain to me what's going on?" But no, I didn't get a lot of those calls. So that's kind of the weirdest thing, is the people who have you thought were friends. So you would think in real life, if somebody, they wouldn't just ignore you. They would reach out to you and say, "Hey, let's talk about this." So that's weird, is that none of those people wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And again, that's part of them protecting their belief, right? So if you believe the Earth's flat and I leave, your thought process is, do I call Jeran? The only thing I'm going to get out of that is he's going to tell me why, and it might actually make me start to doubt my own position. So they just choose, it's easier and safer to not call.
No,
so
that
that's
conspiracy
probably
mindset. I think the only way that you could have switched is if you were compromised, because they're so convinced.
Right.
I think a lot of us we were surprised by how Dave Weiss reacted to you, because we on the Globe side assumed that you two were quite close.
Well, I think so. I kind of thought we were, but I always knew that Dave and we would have conversations, and if something came up that we disagreed on, it was just easy to just rather than hash it out, because I think he kind of realized at some point that he wasn't going to convince me, and I realized I wasn't going to convince him. And from that point, we would rather than keep butting heads, we would just drop it. So whatever that might be, maybe it's Trump's assassination attempt, whereas he's going around telling everybody, "Oh, it was definitely fake, 100%." And I would go back to him and give him some reasons why I didn't think so. And then eventually we would just get to the point where neither one of us was going to convince the other. And so we would just move past it. So that's kind of how we handled disagreements. And then there was things that you guys would bring up, and I would go tell him, "Hey, take this out of your presentation. This isn't true. Here's why it isn't true." And he would kind of fight back on some of them. And then it got to the point where he stopped responding to that. He would just keep it up. He knew better. And then the same thing before I went on the trip, he was trying to message me and basically just say "Hey, we need to have a talk before you go, because I know what's going on. I know what's going to happen. I know what they're doing. And I had already heard so much bullshit out of his mouth that I was like, "No, I don't want to hear what you're going to say about it. I don't want to hear," because he tells me that, Duffy's a Satanist and that he's not a real pastor and that he's going to go to jail and that he's got all this stuff coming up. And I go look into it and I'm like, that's not true. And there was people who said and I just saw the flat earth falling apart at that point. People would make up anything about Duffy. Remember, he killed John Benet Ramsey, was an actual thing going around on videos. That was an actual thing. And then I went and stood up for him. And then rather than, I got attacked, and there were people like, "Oh, he's standing up for Duffy." And then there must be a reason. There must be something behind it. I'm like, yeah, what's behind that is I'm a good person. And I'm recognizing that you guys are bringing something up. Duffy was 9 years old, first of all. He was a child. You didn't kill her. But it's some of these people, when you push back too hard on something, and this happened with the Duffy thing, it actually turned out worse for me. Because what I did was trying to get them to realize your research isn't good here. But because I did that, they then went almost deeper in that. Right? That's the conspiracy mindset. It's if you try and say, "Hey, this is," then people take that as, it's like people taking the cease and desist order by Patricia and Paul and Robbie, and they're actually saying, "Oh, that means that they're guilty," right? So that's because they're only the guilty get lawyered, only the guilty lawyered up. I'm like, what the hell kind of nonsense is that? What flat earthers need to learn is that those guys are not kidding. Those guys are very serious. And
let's be clear, FE Corp sent me a legal notice. In fact, their lawyer, FE Corp tried to sue me. So
for what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, when I did the video about I can't remember his name, the European guy that would basically was running FE Corp.
Kavanaugh. I
did a video about him, and it really, really, really pissed them off. And about a week after I released that video, I got a legal notice in my email.
Really?
I contacted the lawyer, and they said, "Yeah, FE Corps hired us to stop you, to take this down, or they're going to sue you." I basically laughed at the lawyer, told him it's a bunch of flat earth idiots, and then never heard about it again.
Yeah, well, that could happen. Yeah, I mean, I think that FE Corps, I wasn't there for very long, and I saw problems with that. and just said, I'm out of here. And it was mostly because I've always been my own person, and I've always been somebody that, do I say some things that I probably shouldn't have many times? Quite a few I can think of. But with that particular situation, at least with the FE Core, they were just upset that I said something on a show, and I was just like, okay, well, that's the whole reason I don't want to be a part of this, because I'm not going to stop saying things because you guys don't want me to. So I just backed out very early on and was replaced. So I wasn't much involved in that at all from maybe a couple months. So no, but I think that's the biggest issue here is that it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take a while. It does take a certain amount of time until you can really start to process it. I think Melodome was somebody who was seeing it even before me because he was doing his own sun observations. And that's kind of crazy too, is that for me, for the people that are realizing it, it has a lot to do with actually getting outside and going and looking, right? So if you just stay in your house and are on the internet all day, then you know what? If you're a flat earther and you blocked globe earthers and you don't watch any globe channels, then you shouldn't be surprised that you'll be a flat earther forever, because who's going to change your mind? Who's going to tell you that you're wrong? You're going to take it, you tell a family member and they say you're crazy, you're just going to chalk that up to, oh, it's just more indoctrinated globe believers. So there's really no exit from that highway. You're just going forward as a flat earther. And so I think we need I don't know what it is that gets people to at least look into it. That's the tough part. I wish I could figure that out. If I could, I would be pretty happy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some interviews with some former flat earthers, though. I think that'd be good.
I do.
To show people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a couple people who have made videos this past week. What is his name? I can't think of his name. Extracts. I forgot the name of it. I'll look it up. But anyway, he just came out with a video the other day basically saying he's not a flat earther anymore. And I think enough people doing those and then explaining their story of why they don't believe anymore, that might help. Because I do think if I saw an interview with, let's say it was Ranty's going to interview this former flat earther that I knew, and I would look into that. I would at least want to hear, like, wait, why is this, are they going to, so I think that might be good, is to have people hear from other flat earthers who are backing out, like, why, what happened, what changed in your mindset, because otherwise people just chalk you up to a traitor, or you were paid off, or you were compromised or something, which isn't even the way the world works. I mean, you actually have to imagine that, like, everybody who works at Union Glacier or ALE, that they're all in on it, and it's just insane to think that, like, the government would keep secrets by telling everybody their secrets and then paying them off, like as if nobody would ever have a change of heart and be like, I'm going to report this since we're lying to everybody about the shape of the Earth. So it's kind of a ridiculous belief even to start with.
Yeah. Right. So now that you're out of flat Earth, what are your views on conspiracies in general? Are you more cautious or skeptical, or are you done with conspiracy thinking, or are you going to be looking into things a lot more? You did already kind of touch on
looking into things a lot more. I don't think that the one thing I don't want to do for sure, which is what a lot of science people want me to do, they'll tell me in Facebook, they'll message me and basically say, so now do you understand that everything you ever believed was false is actually real? And I'm like, no, I'm not there yet. It's going to take me a little while to get to that point. I think everything needs to be looked at again with a different set of eyes. And I'll get there eventually. I'm just right now, I think it's important to get across to people. Like, people are already asking about, do you think the sun's that far? And do you think that everything is exactly as they tell us in space? I'm like, look, I wanted to know the shape of the Earth. The shape of the Earth is a sphere. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. If that gets accepted, I'll move on to other things. But people won't even get that far. Well, then, it shouldn't matter to them what I think about everything else, which is what they want to do. They want to find
gravity
something
before, didn't you? In one of our conversation last year, you said you had a lot of issues with gravity. Do you still have questions around gravity and stuff?
No, I think that I had questions about gravity when I didn't think the Earth was a sphere.
Yeah.
But if the Earth's a sphere, then I think gravity works just as they describe. And then also, scientists don't truly understand gravity, right? I mean, they can explain it, they can calculate it, things like that. But so I don't expect myself to know those things. No. And that's the other thing, is I don't see the desire to. So I have a lot of people who want me to go into some sort of globe channel or something, and I'm like, was doing flat Earth stuff. I thought we were being lied to, so I wanted to divvy out that information. Once I realized we're not being lied to, I don't have a desire now to, like, now I want to be a physicist or something. It's not in my cards. It's like dark matter, dark energy is just not important to me.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the shape of the Earth, and so that is a higher level postulation or a higher level theory, and it's just not. There's people who have been trained and who go to school for that, and I'm certainly not one of them. So for me to sit around and think I'm going to be able to figure out that what's going on with dark energy or dark matter is ridiculous. It's just not. It's not in my cards. It's not in my.
So
my
when
schedule.
you did used to call people like PhD Tony and that liars about like working with gravity and stuff. Do you regret saying things like that now?
Yeah, if I ever did say that, then I apologize. I don't think that I did. Oh, I think he did send me one time a link or something. I can't remember. I didn't remember calling him that directly. But if I did, and I'm sure I said a lot of things that I regret. So all I can do is apologize. And if I don't see myself doing that again to those particular people, but I think people should recognize that it's okay for somebody to have a belief about something. Let's say that. Like, for instance, the Mars stuff or something. Like, people should recognize that for me, it's like, it's okay if somebody questions those things. It's okay to question what we're being told. It's okay. And that we just want to help people get to the right answer. And I think that there's some disconnect there between NASA and what actually people see. So I think that that's kind of something I want to explore myself, meaning that let's say that there is a remote control car on Mars. Let's say that all the rovers are real. They're there. They're exploring. There's a helicopter attached to it. All that stuff. Then I think that there's a better way to inform some of the public. I get it. Many of the public just believe it, but many people don't. And I think that I can help bridge that. If it is real, then I want to go somewhere that they'll show me where the person is that's driving it, how they program it today so it drives tomorrow. Those things are not really shown to the public much that I've seen. So I want to kind of, if I can do that, that'd be awesome. If I can get invited places like that, if people recognize, oh, this guy is telling the truth. He may not believe it today.
It seems like it sparked a lot of your interest in space travel and stuff. You filming the rocket launches and everything. I mean, whether you believe in it or not, that's all pretty cool stuff, right? So.
Oh, that's especially how far you're seeing it and what the rockets are doing. And that's another thing. People are like, I've heard Mark Sargent say it to people like, and then Jeran went back and said, all of space travel is real and all. It's like, so if you say that to people, they're going to immediately have issues with it. They're going to say, what, how could he say all this about space and then just completely flip? So, I mean, the truth of the matter is that no, you have to piece back those things. The very first thing I said is, the SpaceX is supposed to launch. I'm going to go watch it. Once you see it launch for yourself, you have to know that, okay, what's being launched is real, number one. And no matter where you're at, you can see it. That's real. So I just think there's ways of looking at things differently. The ISS, for example, and by the way, notice that I'm the only flat earther that's ever posted a transit of the sun or moon by the ISS. Mm-hmm. So right away, that should tell us something. I mean, it tells you that I'm actually out there trying to make observations and then trying to post them as, say, oh, this happens because it's what's real. And then, every flat earther wants to say it's fake. Well, the reason they want to say it's fake is because none of them are actually doing it, and nobody wants to do it. Why? Because they're afraid of what they might find, right? So to me, and then everybody say, well, maybe they just put it up there for you. It's like, no, you don't understand how it works. That anybody can go to that site and choose a time and go out and see it themselves. So nobody knows that you're on the site. It's just you're just going to the website. So I think that with things like that, we can actually have, that's kind of a sign that something's wrong with flat earthers. Why aren't they actually doing that? Why aren't they actually observing that? Because what you can do with that is determine the speed of it. And there's no way around that. I mean, I realized that real early. I'm like, wait a second. So if I can see it, it means anybody in that line can see it. I don't need to actually call somebody and be like, hey, can you go out and verify? No. If I can verify, then anybody can verify. So once you can draw that path, the ISS path, and say, okay, here's where it crosses California, here's where it crosses the edge of the east coast of the United States, and then you can figure out the difference in time, and you can do the math, and every time I did it comes out between 17 and 19,000 miles per hour in a rough estimate. So if people realize that, it did kind of tell me, okay, there's something up there moving 19,000 miles per hour, or 17 to 19,000 miles per hour, and there's really no way around that. And I think that that's what started to open my mind to the possibilities of everything. It's just, okay, if that's up there, there's a possibility that that's true. Watching these rocket launches tells me that they are going somewhere, and no matter where you're at in California, and I don't know, you can't be way up north, but I mean, It's not put up there just for me. It's anybody, and then it adjusts when you see it based on how far away you are, based on the curvature of the Earth. So I just think that now I'm looking at it, I'm like, nobody else is doing that. Like, why aren't any flat earthers filming the rocket launches or the landings in Florida? Right. So now I realize that the reason for that is I think a lot of people must have doubts, and so they don't want to have their belief exposed, right? Whereas I did. Whereas when Duffy said, let's go to Antarctica, if I'm wrong, I want to know it. If I'm wrong, I want to tell my audience that I was wrong. So I don't think other people are like that. I don't think that they have the same, I've got bigger balls than them is what I'm trying to say. So they don't want to take a chance at being wrong and having to admit that they're wrong. So what's the easiest way to do that? To ignore things that would cause you to have that, that belief broken down. So I wish more people did that on both sides. Again, if you guys did it, it wouldn't really get you anywhere because you're right. So, but I'm just saying in general, you want people to go out and actually challenge their beliefs. That's how you get to the truth. If you go out and try and push what you believe and look for the evidence of what you believe, then most times you're going to continue believing what you believe. So again, half the group is going to be correct in doing that because they're actually going to be right. But the other half is not. And in this case, Flat Earth was so far off, it's untenable. There's no chance that it's correct. And so I wish there was a way to get people to see that. Although I know probably the number one way not to do that is to tell them for 10 years it's the other way around.
Yeah. So yeah, go back in time and just slap yourself. We are extremely happy that this has happened on the Globe side. When we kind of broke the news in the Discord and everything, people were actually overjoyed that you have seen sense, because a lot of them seem to like you, especially more now. So yeah, but we are extremely happy that you've come round.
Well, thank you. And everybody's been more than kind. I mean, there's been nobody who's really reached out and said, the couple people have said like, hey, don't get too full of yourself, that you shouldn't be actually getting any accolades for this, that your stupidity shouldn't be rewarded. Just a couple people like that, which I'm not even saying I disagree with that. But nobody's been overly, nobody's been like the flat earthers have been, right? I mean, I've seen today alone, I saw somebody tell me to commit suicide and somebody else say, watch your family's back. So there's just all kinds of nonsense, and those people are unhinged. And I get it.
I'm glad you see it now. I've never had people threaten to kill me and my mum until I started speaking to flat earthers,
I've told people, and I said this when I was a flat earther. When I was a flat earther, I said the flat earthers have treated me 10 times worse, maybe more than that, than any globe earther ever did, right? I mean, the things that were said about me by flat earthers are in no way even close to, or they're in no way, they're way worse than what any globe earther ever said. Like a globe earther might call me stupid or call me dumb. It's like, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah,
but then the flat earthers would go way past that. Right. So then you go to flat earthers though, and what they would say would just be disgusting. And attack your wife, attack your child, call your kid a bastard. Just whatever it took. And so I realized not real quickly. I would say the first couple years I was in the camp that like, oh, flat Earth makes you a better person, kind of because it made me a better person, but it really makes you a worse person. It makes you a mistrusting, a bad friend. I could go off for a day on all the things that it would create, what it causes you to become if you're not careful, if you're not. And then if you go against family and you call your brother a moron and you call your mom a moron, then you're just becoming estranged with your family, and that's going to create a problem. Now both people have dug in, and neither one of you are going to admit that you're wrong. So I made sure I never did that, right? I mean, I made sure that I kept my relationships with my mom, my sister, my dad, that there was never a position of like, well, if you don't believe what I do, then I'm going to call you names. So I do recognize that a lot of people have done that because people have called me and told me, and people have said, hey, I don't talk to my brother anymore because he's a stupid glober. Like, okay, well, don't do that. Like, it's not worth that. It's not worth it. And so I, tried to get people to recognize that, but I get it. People, when they hear it, they're like, they have that new knowledge and they want to get it out there. They want to tell everybody about it. And I think that the number one thing that I really am bothered by is the people on Facebook that are so cocky. It's disgusting. Just the way that they act, the way that they talk, the way that they post, like everything's just matter of fact. And then their best argument or their best thing is like, oh, what do you think you're on a spinning water ball? And it's like, okay, well, it's just insane because it's I don't think they recognize what it looks like from the outside, even as a flat earther. I used to look at that stuff and just be like, man, there's no discussion there. It's just like, we're right and you're retards. That's basically what they're saying. Yeah. And there's no discourse there. Then you look at the comments and it's all just name calling and so you're.
Yeah, I've had to block Kevin. 10 posts a day about me was just.
I think you told me you did.
Yeah, I had to block him. Like it was just sad at the point that it was 5 to 10 posts a day about me.
I didn't get
about
it
me,
either.
Saying things about curved buildings. You know, he was I swear he was watching all my videos obsessively because he would clip from debates from 3-4 years ago, just tiny little bits, and say, "Oh, look at this stupid thing Craig has said," and I'm like, "Are you just watching all of my videos, Kevin?" I think he's got a shrine.
And then he would send it to me, and he would say, like, "This is the guy that you're agreeing with." And so I'm like, "What?" I said, "I don't care what Craig said in the past. Like, because I have the same belief about the shape there doesn't mean that I agree with him on everything he said. Who the hell said that?" It's like ridiculous.
He is one of the most batshit crazy people. He told me, unironically, that the reason they have tall doors in some Canadian buildings is because there used to be giants a couple of 100 years ago.
I think Dave Weiss says that too. Dave Weiss actually said the giants could be carrying around the sun in Antarctica.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Which is actually probably more likely the truth than the laser beam plasma sun that he came up with. I could buy the giants first, I think.
I don't know. But, Satan sounds more likely than giants. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he's a good point. Well, that's why I said, I'm like, if you're allowed to do that, then anything. I mean, I'm like, how do I know I'm not sleeping with the devil? How do I know I'm not drinking the devil out of my cup right now? If Satan just becomes whatever he wants to fool us, I'm like, well, then we're really in trouble.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it shocks me that anybody is in that guy's church. You know, he actually said, talking about Dean Odell, that God came to him before 9/11 and said, hey, in 3 days, planes will crash into the buildings in New York. And
why didn't you fucking tell anyone?
Yeah, he said I don't know. that's his story.
You could have saved thousands of lives, you dickhead.
Mike, do you know what that does? That really like lowers my opinion of God a hell of a lot. It's like he chose Dean Odell. Wow.
Yeah, I know. The guy that wants to take tune out the back of a bike shed. Oh
man, like I can think of about 3,900,000,000 adults, males that I would have been a better choice.
Here's the crazy thing, Jeran, right? You watch the video of Dean Odell doing that sermon, saying that he will take tune out the back and everything, and everyone in the crowd is, yeah, right.
Amen. Like, amen, and
like,
preach,
what?
brother, preach.
These are Christians? What? It absolutely blows my mind.
I mean, go look at any of my last couple posts on Facebook and look at everybody in the comments. They're all Christians. You would never know it. I mean, to think that the idea of Jesus and that Jesus would be doing that is just insane. Or it's the same thing I believe about everything, that they act like God's going to give them a high five for lying about people and for just being disgusting, and it's just, and they do it all in the name of God. That's the sad part, right? Is that a lot of these people have attached flat Earth to their religion, and so they now see any attack on the flat Earth as a direct attack on their God or on their religion. Which again, religion should be separate from science, because religion is a belief based not on evidence, or at least there's no sufficient evidence to prove it. So again, I don't mind if you have a belief, but to think that you belong in scientific circles, that's the weird thing. I mean, we actually have people going around saying, we have no model, we have no map, we make no claims. Hey, do you want to debate me? It's like, wait,
about what? Yeah. No, but they do make claims. Like Nathan Oakley will constantly say he doesn't make claims, yet he runs a flat Earth debate, which has never had an actual debate on it. And
I knew there was issues with Oakley quickly, 3-4 years ago, whatever. Like, and when I started hearing this, we can't measure angles from a curved baseline, I'm like, what does he mean? They use a tangent, and people just kind of, but it's a curved baseline. I'm like, no, I know what the Earth would be curved if it was a sphere, but I said, but that's not what they're using. They're using the tangent. So the tangent, I'm like, and so I've been telling my audience, I'm like, go outside tonight and look at the North Star. I'm like, now decide what would be different on your front yard if the Earth was a sphere or flat. And the answer is nothing. Nothing would change. So can you get an angle to Polaris? Then you can get an angle from curved baseline. It's the same thing.
I tried to explain that I can use the Theodolite app on my phone to measure the angle between two balls that I'm holding in my hand. You know, there's two curved surfaces, and I can measure the angles between those curved surfaces. Are they saying that's not possible? They're trying to say that the mathematical functions of calculus do not exist. You know, and it's like...
Yeah, I don't get it. Because they think there's like triangles. Like you have to... It's like, no, we're talking about angles, first of all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and like,
they can't separate them. No.
Right. They can't understand that they're different. So, and this is why I called Nathan Oakley a scammer, because I realized a long time ago that those guys cannot ever admit that they're wrong. Because they think, I guess, whatever's in their head, they're like, oh, that'd be the worst thing ever for the Flat Earth debate group to say, hey, we were wrong about something we pushed for forever. So then I said, well, it's just a scam, because what that means is that even if they're ever proven wrong, they're going to keep speaking like they're not. And so that's their whole thing now, right? I mean, if you hear anybody go around, I can tell right away when somebody's a Nathan Oakley fan, because they'll go around and they'll say something about you can't measure angles from a curved baseline. I'm like, I know exactly who you're watching, and that's your problem. Because those guys, again, like I said, you thought that you were being lied to about the shape of the Earth, so you became a flat earther, and now it is the flat earthers that are lying to you about the shape of the Earth. That's an ironic kind of, somebody should make a movie. It's kind of really weird because you became what you hate, and you're now on this side of the people doing the thing that got you into the thing in the first place. So that's
everything
around
bad. Flat Earth is backwards and crazy. The turtle moves for £2 says, Jeran, why did you talk to Craig first and not Dave?
Dave who?
I don't know. There's many Daves. Probably because I'm bugging him to come on the channel. That's why.
Literally bugging me.
Get on the fucking channel, you dickhead. OG Yeti, he's been over for 22 months, says, welcome back to reality, Jeran. Yeah, we're all very glad to have you on this side. You've become a very good, flat Earth debunker. That's what we've been noticing. Dave McKeegan, you might know him, £5 super chat says, if the final experiment was redone, would Jeran still object to sharing a tent with a Glober? P.S. Tune for top left.
No, I wouldn't. No, everything's different. I think of everybody as differently than I thought. So again,
what was it like sharing a tent with Witsit though?
Yeah, no comment. You have this you have this head game that you kind of build up about what you think the opposing side is. I can't even remember how I thought of McKeegan before, but I certainly, one of the funnier things that happened on that trip, though, I keep having to bring this up, is when we're having that argument in the office of ALE, and I'm like getting kind of loud, and I'm like saying, hey, we don't need your guys' names in our videos. I don't do videos with your guys' names in them. You guys have to put our names in your videos. I'm like, we just do subject matter. And then McKeegan's like, wait, didn't you do a video about me called Dave McKeegan is a shill? I'm like, oh yeah. Besides that one. I mean, besides that one, yes. I mean, we don't need to, like, wait, didn't you do a video called Dave? I'm like, oh yes, that video? Yes, I remember that one. So it's just kind of funny. Yeah. It was right in the middle of like a really heated thing. Like I'm like trying to make my point, man. We don't need your guys' names.
Yeah. Stop being right in an argument. How dare you?
Right. Can we say that after, Dave? After I give my little presentation here?
Nivox Spilkuman, member for 60 months, says, Nazi link buffering. Yeah, look, I will be getting rid of my Starlink as soon as my contract is up and I've figured out new internet here, because I, number one, don't really want to support Musk, and number two, hate Starlink because it's shite. I did the job in
Antarctica. Work for us down in Antarctica.
Apart from the forced updates and stuff, right?
From the what?
The forced updates.
The forced update? Yeah, I guess that is a problem. I didn't see that take place, but yeah.
The problem is, when I'm live streaming, it's fine the majority of the time, but if it drops below connecting to 7 satellites, then it reduces my bandwidth to like 10% and I get buffering.
What are the speeds on it when it's going good for you?
When it's good, it's like 500 down and maybe 60 up.
Okay.
So it's not bad, but when it's bad, it can go as it drops below like 1 up, and it ruins my live streams. It is better since I put my Starlink on a 12-foot pole. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess they're just. I was shocked. I mean, when we landed that plane, it was. I said, and you can actually hear my chest cam footage where I'm looking out the window. I'm like, "There's no way we're live streaming from here." I thought just zero chance, and then we get to the camp and they're like, "Oh, here's the Wi-Fi," and first year we've had it, and got up to secondary camp. I was just pretty shocked.
Wait, Will gave out the Wi-Fi? Oh, no. Witsit had to steal it. Dihydrogen monoxide, £5 says, for Jeranism, I'd absolutely recommend seeing a total solar eclipse at some point. It really helps to put the universe into perspective.
Thank you. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
And I heard that people are going to Egypt in a couple of years.
Oh, is there one in Egypt? Wow, that would be amazing to see it there.
Duffy is organizing the trip. I think a bunch of people are going to go to the pyramids and watch it from there. So I thought that was
very
cool.
much like to do that. F Grudge for 5 years says, Jeran, respect for being honest. Yeah, like I said, I apologize myself, Jeran, for calling you a grifter and a liar, because it's become obvious.
I get it.
That you are.
I was pushing false information, and so that to anybody is going to look like a lie. I get it, because there's.
But you thought it was true, and that's what I've realized.
Right. And how do you determine that about somebody? It's very difficult to figure that out. It's going to look like a lie. If I see somebody, that's why I have a hard time believing in a lot of the flat earthers now. I think of what they're saying, and I'm like, well, that's not true, so they're lying. But I have to remember that they're probably going through the same thing that I went through, which is you've already built up this world in your head to where you actually believe that those things are true. Now, some people are lying. Stephen Alonso, liar.
Absolutely.
He does not believe anything.
No, he's a disgusting liar. Like, you will tell him something like the whole TFE merch thing, where Will literally said, "Don't do that," and he's now saying he's got an exclusive contract to sell it. Like, the guy, yeah.
He's like, in our partnership with the final experiment. What partnership?
What?
You asked him, and he said no, and he's like, in our partnership. It's a weird
he's
partnership.
like, well, I've got implied consent because you didn't say no. And Will's like, well, here's where I said no.
Now figure it out.
Valentine Damnion, £5 says, Jeran, please tell us if you lost some friends when you joined Flat Earth. We know you lost them when you got out, and I'm sorry for that. Did anyone come back?
No, not really. No. So, no, not really. I guess I had already kind of, I was a store manager at a drugstore and had gotten married and had a kid. So we were just kind of on our own. We had moved away from my hometown. So it was just, when I became Flat Earther, it wasn't really, didn't cause any rifts in any relationships. I'm trying to think if it did. Not really. I mean, I had a couple friends who would ask questions about it, and then I would try and push it on them, and they would just kind of reject it. So it just was easy to kind of drop it. And then we're still maybe in communication, but it's just not brought up. It's not a big deal. And now they've been calling and saying things like, "Oh, so for sure it's a sphere." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a sphere." Like, okay, thanks. So I've had a lot of people that have done that. That's kind of been cool. Is before the trip, many people messaged me on Messenger and just said, "Hey, make sure you tell me when you get back, because I'll decide, my position based on what you see." So there is quite a few people that have flipped that people wouldn't know, right? There's not that many creators, and I get why. I mean, again, it's just like when you're in a gang, you can't leave the gang unless the gang jumps you, because they have to make sure that nobody else leaves the gang. If they just let you leave, then the next guy's going to leave. So the same thing is true. This is why they have to attack myself and Patricia and Robbie, because they have to show that
Robbie and Patricia are massive. The fact that they've come out and said, yeah, no, we think the Earth is a sphere, has annoyed a lot of people, especially Robbie being the organizer of the Flat Earth International Conferences.
Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to do that. And then also with Paul on the plane, he didn't have to do that. He was already kind of gone. And when he came out, it was after he had already seen what happened to Robbie, myself, and Patricia. So I give him a lot of credit for doing that, because he didn't have to. He could have just stayed in the shadows.
No, you see the vile things being said when Robbie does his posts on Facebook. Like, he's posting some things, this is obviously what is a sphere, look at this. And the responses from people that called themselves his Christian brethren are absolutely disgusting. I don't get how people can be like that.
Yeah, and now I'm starting to see all the problems and all the reason why this continues on, because it's like the sharing of videos with incorrect information in them is rampant, and it's because nobody does any. So imagine if you block all the Globers, and then you have like a Steve Falconer from Space Audits, or what's called, Space Busters. He puts out a video that is just him not understanding the sphere. He goes through this whole thing saying that, the place is west of this place, and it gets the sun first, which is impossible, and therefore, and again, he's just wrong. He doesn't understand how the globe works, and I had to show him. But again, this is why the saying goes that it takes, the lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on, is because by the time he put out that video, and it was shared by Mark Sargent and shared by Dearth and shared by all these guys, so now it's been seen by the whole community, there's just no way that my rebutting that will ever reach that many people. So all those people now believe another lie, and it gives them, the more they see like that, and I guarantee that video was so long and so full of math and times and numbers, every flat earther tuned out within a minute or 2 or 5 at the most. And so they then just go in the comments and say, great job, you're about the truth, blah, 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 blah. But nobody's actually, I asked Steve too, I'm like, give me the viewer retention. Show me a screenshot. He won't just show me. Because I bet you it's the worst of all time. Because flat earthers just don't watch that kind of stuff. And so that's a big problem because...
Don't have a long enough attention span.
And then you have Dearth, who was the other day presenting it, saying, "Hey, everybody, watch this channel." And then he's like trying to explain it, and he didn't even watch the video. And so these guys just, I wish I was still a flat earther just so I could prove that by putting out some video full of nonsense, just complete and total nonsense, and then watch it get shared and believed by everybody. It would happen.
Maybe do an experiment. Say, "Oh, I was wrong. The Earth's flat, and here's why." Say something absolutely ridiculous. See who believes it.
They would all believe it. I don't want to do that because they'll all believe it.
Yeah. Mike Hatch, £2 says, Jeran, who do you want for top left this year?
Oh man, it's got to be. I would like to say Saab, but it's got to be Flatzoid.
Really? No. I still say Witsit because when I met him and he told me that I'm never invited to the things that I'm currently at, that was hilarious. And then he did a live stream afterwards where he's like, he'll never be invited back. I'm already invited back to the next one, and he's not.
Can you, the top left thing, can you win twice or no?
Yeah, you can win as much as you want.
So who won the first couple times?
CC won it last time. We let him out for 2 years because we got busy last year. Who won it the first year? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I mean, that channel is one of the funnier channels on the internet. Flatzoid's channel.
Oh, Flatzoid, yeah. No, Flatzoid is ridiculous.
Oh, it's just insane. And then you've got, the 7 or 8 guys with him, and they all just are all collectively so confused, and they back each other up when they get something wrong and just say the most ridiculous things. And
yeah,
the other day Saab was saying, he's like,
that they're being duped to think they're at Antarctica. I don't think Union Glacier is really at Antarctica. I think it's at a different location, and it's placed as Antarctica.
That makes sense though, because then they just moved in the sun and said make sure you get it at the 15 degree and 35 degree tilt. So that was good, and make sure the pictures match every other year that we've gone and done the marathon there. So but the thing that Saab said the other day that was so funny is he's like, and Duffy on his video said that Jeran's been filming rocket launches from 188 miles away. He said, I'm 200 miles from DC and I don't see when they light off the fireworks. Like, Sav. The fireworks go about 700 feet in the sky, and you're 200 miles away, and you can't see them because of the curvature of the Earth, my friend. It's like he's like that's some sort of argument. Like I can't see this thing forever far away. Yeah, the Earth's curved. We get it.
Well, do you remember when I was debating him on your channel about gravity, and he kept saying that the Cavendish experiment was just a parlor trick, and I asked him to explain how it was a parlor trick, and he went, "Because I can do this."
Right, which is great. That's good evidence. Yeah,
brilliant.
So, I mean, again. And those guys, they just everything that they've had to say about the trip, and that's been the most eye-opening thing, I guess, because realizing I was on the trip and then just watching the absolute desperation at trying to convince people that something that I can tell you 100% was 100% above board. There's nothing about it that was funny business. There's nothing about it that was anomalous or anything that I found, and yet everybody's got all these things to say, and that makes it so funny. Is when you already know, it's like people can bring up there's no footprints in the snow. You're like, what? You just laugh because you're like,
yeah,
there's an explanation for everything. It's obviously, and we don't see their breath, and we don't. Everything was just like, yeah, we didn't think about it, and then you do think about it, and then you find out, and like all it takes is a search. If you search like, why can't I see my breath in Antarctica? It's like, oh, it's very dry there. There's no humidity. It's 0.0. But they can't even do that level of research. It takes that much. Or like Edward Hendry, this loser who's been posting all these lies about us on his Substack, he asked for a video of the sunset in Punta Arenas. So I gave him one that Toon took, and then he made an article post about it, about saying it's CGI. I'm like, dipshit. People live there. Like, you can go there right now and watch the sunset.
He said the sunset in Punta Arenas was CGI.
CGI sunset, the entire video that Duffy, yeah, and Duffy's drone footage of the sunrise in Punta Arenas is also CGI.
Oh my god!
Even though
wants to say hello
there's
to you, by the
thousands
way.
of people who live down there. You can go look. You can actually find a webcam and watch it from a webcam. You can, I mean, go look at like Google Earth. Google Earth, just use Google Earth. And then if you think that Google Earth is lying to you, then find out one person that disagrees with what Google Earth says that they should be seeing in the sky. And you won't find that because it's modeled after a globe and the globe is correct and it accounts for all observations. So those things are baffling to me, is that the stretch that people will go to just by saying, oh, the sunset's a lie. The sunset's a CGI. It's like, wait, what? Then that would, for us to CGI a sunset would mean that the real sunset did something different. And for the flat Earth to be true, the sun needs to set going the other direction and northwest, and it's set in the wrong direction going south. So again, it's just funny to me that these guys can't see that as an easy debunking of their claim.
I still can't get
think
over,
you can do.
No, I still can't get over the fact that you went to Antarctica, but you also took a massive studio with you to Antarctica.
Seemed like a wasted part of the trip to do that. Could have done it somewhere else. But,
like,
no. And then the people saying that, like, they're like, oh, well, they don't realize what going live meant there. And people may not realize this, but if you look at my channel up on the, right now under live, I went live the 11th. So I flew out the 10th, got there the 11th. We went live the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th from Antarctica, the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th. So I went live on my channel every single day, in which I always interacted with the chat. And I did that on purpose so that I said, okay. And I read the sports scores that were on Thursday night at the airport on Saturday morning to show that it wasn't pre-taped. And then you got Edward Hendry saying, like, why would Jeran show something from the Thursday before when he was leaving on Saturday? It's like, wait, what? Like, how could he be so dumb? Like, so what are you saying could have happened? That I did everything on a Friday, the day between those two? I don't know. It's just, I find everything funny at this point, but also extremely frightening.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how we're going to get out of people. I do think that it will go away, not completely, but I do think more and more people will disappear. I think the numbers are a lot lower than we've been told.
Well, Toon has said the final experiment has distilled flat Earth. There is only the extremely dumb or the hardcore grifters left. The claims of flat Earth is growing just aren't true anymore. I'm struggling to count the amount of people that are ex-flat earthers now that were flat earthers when I started doing this. And
I think, don't they say that, like, I think I saw that on David Weiss's app that only like 30,000 records were. Oh yeah. So so that's a lot less than what the app is showing. That's a lot less. So it's 300,000
instances created, but that could be people that had the app, got a new phone, and then recreated it and things like that. There was only something like 30 to 40,000 actual accounts, but there was 300,000 instances of it created.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot, but it's not as much as people think. I think people hear things like Brazil did that one poll and came back and said 11 million Brazilians were flat earthers.
Yeah, but that's not even true. What they did was they polled a very small population of Brazil and then extrapolated that to the entire population of Brazil.
Right, which is what they all do in polls. So yeah. You can't really go off that for sure.
Yeah.
No, but I think that it's just going to take people. I think that this did damage. I think that Duffy should be happy. I think Duffy should be extremely happy with the way it turned out. And
I think he just doesn't like me and wanted to ruin my channel, basically.
Probably, but yeah, I think you can pivot.
Well,
there'll be enough flat earthers for you to make fun of. Don't worry.
There's always stupid people. Don't worry. Brandon Contreras for $5 says, Jeran, what was the clincher that made you officially decide to leave flat Earth? Was it the response upon your return from Antarctica or something else?
It was a combination of everything, but I mean, I realized on the flight back that the Earth was a sphere. I mean, it kind of settled with me. And then from there, I think I originally had a plan, like, okay, I'm going to get back. I'm going to try and see if anybody wants to go to the drawing board. Kind of like, how am I going to bring this up to people softly and not to... but then I think that watching what happened when we got back and seeing... I remember being on the ride home from the airport. So I was driving myself home from the airport on the 21st, I guess it was, or something like that. And I was listening to a Discord conversation with Witsit and then all these people just attacking him. And right then I could just see the writing on the wall. I'm like, oh man, this is horrendous that we did all these live streams and that people aren't even, they're going to find any nitpicky little thing they could find. And so I realized real quickly, well, I have to tell people right away that I'm not a flat earther anymore. So that first stream I did on the Christmas Eve, you can. I like read a poem about how shitty the flat earthers were being, night before Christmas poem, and then in that presentation, I said that I was no longer a flat earther, and that the Earth matched all observations matched the sphere. So I don't know if there was a particular one thing. It was definitely the entire South, from the South Celestial Pole to the South Pole. Realizing how close I was to the South Pole and kind of realizing that myself without nobody ever told me anything about using the sun as a compass. But it was when I was there and we were watching the sun every day and we saw, okay, so it's at its lowest in the south. And then I was kind of thinking, oh, if I was here without any compass, without a GPS at all, without anything, I could just keep walking every day towards the southernmost part of the sun. And eventually I would get to a place where the sun was leveled at the, its altitude around me. Whereas it was 35 and 15 when we were at Union Glacier. So I realized, wow, so if I kept walking, and then it was like, well, how far would I need to walk? And it was like, wait, I would need to go until both were even. So it's 35, 15, so I would need to go till they're 25, so I have to go 10 degrees. So 10 degrees times 69, 690 miles. Then I went and looked how far away we were from the pole. It was like 685 miles. It was like, oh, I get this now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then I started thinking about when we flew back to Punta, watching the sun kind of, I mean, that was the biggest thing to actually, if you want to know when I first knew, like, oh shit, it was in Punta Arenas on the first night when we saw the sunset, because it was moving right to left. We could watch the light. It was like 12:30, and the light was in the south moving to the left, and that's not at all what flat Earth would need. And so, I was able to say, well, it could be the coffee cup caustic, which is embarrassing to even say that I considered that, but I thought about it, and then, but Whitson and I both knew. We said, well, when we fly there, that sun is the ultimate test. When we fly there, if the sun remains in the sky, then we were wrong. So that's kind of right when I knew. Well, I didn't know until we actually got to Antarctica, because we had to do that. We had to, see the sun stay in the sky, and then to start hearing people say it was a fake sun was just like, wait, you don't think I know what the sun is? It's like, well, how did it get? I mean, that's just so ridiculous. It's like, and then I used a magnifying glass to burn paper both in the north and the south to show that. And then, that girl, whatever, Rusted Soul or something, was saying like, she's like, well, why don't you know that there's 500-watt light bulbs that can burn paper? I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean?
Where's the fucking light bulb? You're outside.
500, like what? It's lighting up the entire area. So I just didn't understand that. And Dave Weiss was talking about, oh, they probably got behind the plane. This is why they fly there at that time, so that they can get behind the plane and switch out the sun. Like, who's getting behind what plane? It was just such a stretch. I was like, this is gross.
Yeah. Was it that point where on the plane they told you it's nap time now? Everyone just go to sleep. Right. They must have switched the sun at that point, right?
Well, then they came behind you and said, here, you just smell this napkin while we put you to sleep. And I thought that was weird. That was strange. But then we went to sleep. When we woke up, there was a different looking sun in the sky. No, same sun. We got to be careful with that. People clip that. Just like they said, I love Satan. I'm like, as soon as I play that, it's going to be me saying happy birthday to Satan.
Oh, yeah. Like they took Whitsitt saying, there's people behind me with guns, as him admitting that he was doing that under duress. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can't even. In my chest cam footage, I actually say, "Hey, what do they do? What's it when we show up there? Do they just open the hangar doors and we fly right into the studio?" And I'm saying that as a joke, but I'm like, "Oh, great! People are going to take that and run with it." Did you see somebody said that I paid my homage to Apollo by?
With your coffee or something, wasn't it?
It was just a little it gave us little ramen noodles, whatever they're called, cup of noodles,
and mine was polo, which is. Yeah, that's just Spanish for chicken, right?
Yeah, but I was paying
Portuguese for
homage to
chicken. One of them, yeah.
Hilarious. People,
oh my god. Dihydrogen monoxide, £5 says, Jeran, if you've ever installed and used Durf's Flat Earth Clock app, please take steps to salvage your online privacy and security. Oh, well, you did give Durf an award, actually. What was that award that you got?
We got the first ever Durf Ball of the Week award, so that's going to be something I'll do.
He also got the quickest to leak your personal data award, I believe.
Oh, that award, that was on the Flat Earth Awards. Yeah, no, that's too late for that. My data has been leaked, and so that's what happened. Is I talked to Dave about it, and he's like, "Well, how do you know it didn't come from somewhere else?" I'm like, "Because the guys who have access to the app are showing me my address, so they got it from there." So he's like, "Oh, it could have come from anywhere." I'm like, no, I've taken steps to make sure my address wasn't out there. But I'm like, whatever. I said, I'll just have to move, and he's like, "If you move, that's on you, not me." I'm like, Well, it's kind of your fault, but whatever.
You
It's
were
on
the
me. I
one
guess
that
I'm
leaked his data. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, but I'm like, I guess it is my choice to move it. So then I said, hey, maybe something good will come of it. Maybe I'll get a house with a pool. And that was how it was left. And then I heard from people saying, hey, Dave says that you're going to get a house with a pool for lying about TFE, and that when you
Oh
do,
my
you're going
God.
to use the app. Yeah. So he totally like blocked me from even being able to move, because now if I move, people are going to be like, oh, what's that house? Did you get that house for free? And then how do I prove that I didn't, but except for if I show the address, in which case I'm in the same place I'm at now. So
Yeah,
how
well,
am I gonna
you
do
could
it?
take that studio anywhere. You don't know. That's in your mansion now, right?
That's true. Just build the same exact studio in whatever house I get. Okay, I'll do that.
What you guys don't realize is actually Jeran and I are just in. He's a studio just down the corridor. We're just
And knock,
in the
I'll
same-
probably hear it.
Yeah, I could just go and knock on his door and go in. We're just hired to do this.
It was a good story, cover story about your house getting damaged in the
Yeah,
weather, though.
perfect. Yeah, Mr. Jingles, £5 says, Jeran, looking back, which is the worst flat Earth claim against the globe that you ever made?
Oh, the speed of the spin, probably. The worst flat Earth proof or claim
The
against
worst
the globe.
claim against the globe.
I'd say that's probably it. I mean, I think that sometimes I would like Canigoo or the other observations that I made that I thought were the complete mountain, but that's just kind of wrong. Even across Lake Michigan, I've not found any good numbers on that besides people who don't tell you where they're honestly at. Right? I mean, you do the math on them actually being up on the dunes and then looking across, and they're actually only looking maybe 35 miles, not 55. From there, it kind of is all answered. So I don't know. The worst one I would say is probably that one. I'm trying to think if there's something else I just can't think of. But no, I mean, the spin, I think when you hear 1,000 miles per hour, yeah, I'd say that's my worst.
Big
Because there's a
numbers.
video I did called, it was called Do We Spin or Are We Spinning? And I think in there, I made some claims that just don't make any sense. In one of them, I showed like how fast 1,000 miles per hour would be on the ground. But I'm like in my car, and basically what I did is I filmed myself driving at 50 miles per hour and then multiplied it 20 times in the speed to show what but that's that's not at all what the spin of the Earth would be.
No, because that's
again,
just
they're not-
relative
they-
to the surface of the Earth, isn't it?
Right.
And
so
you're
it'd be like
traveling
I'd
over
have to have the
short
ground moving
distance.
with me at a
Yeah.
and everything would just, you would be still. So that's a really bad claim. I think a lot of people don't
apparently-
understand that.
Apparently, Witsit is live right now talking about leaving flat Earth.
I doubt that.
I'll just have to quickly check that. I mean, he did.
What's the name of the?
He did do it on his members only stream that he couldn't set members only. He did talk about stopping doing content. No, I don't see Witsit live right now. So they're probably just lying. I don't know. Charles Arnold, $2. Jeran, your pick for top left. He already said Flatzoid, which is a very good pick. Flatzoid is extremely dumb. He told me.
But King
that-
Nico definitely deserves to be up there. I mean, there's a lot. There's
So
many.
FTFE. Well, everybody here on the panel, quickly. Even you, Luca.
He's gone.
This 45-degree that you at the sun, is he gone? Okay.
Yeah, he's gone.
Would that be a hypotenuse of a right-angle triangle?
Absolutely.
The 45, yeah.
No,
45, yeah.
Did you hear that? Him and his whole panel just agreed that the 45 angle in a right angle triangle is the hypotenuse, and they all just agreed with him.
Yeah, that group is just. Who did the video about him for top left? It's a great video. Wally, where's Wally?
Yeah, where's Wally? Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah.
He just, I mean, yeah. And then the other guy did a video about all of his incorrect applications of the iPhone compass when he's trying to see the sunrise, and he's just like, just coming up with random numbers, just saying like, look, guys, it's rising at, it's rising at 290. Oh, look, guys, it's right over there at 90. It just was so off, and yeah, the guy is definitely laughs.
Jack Fair $9.99 says, Jeran, you never felt odd thinking every accredited textbook pilot, physicist, astronomer, meteorologist, astronomer, astronaut, pictures and videos all show a globe?
I wish I could say I did, but no, you don't. You actually start to believe your own bullshit. So,
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
I
they
guess
say,
that makes sense.
a person with really bad breath doesn't notice that because it's right underneath their nose. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh my
They
god,
didn't really
that's-
notice it.
I have nightmares about being a dentist. Could you imagine being a dentist and all your
Oh,
patients
God,
have
no.
bad breath? Oh my lord.
No, it's got to be horrendous.
Eddie Reese has been a member for 42 months. Says, Jeran, my question is, after concluding that flat Earth is bunk, are you reviewing other conspiracies, i.e. moon landings, vaccines? He has already touched on that. Yeah. I'd like to talk to you about some moon landing stuff. Doesn't have to be a debate, but I think you should have that conversation with Dave first, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys want to do a team debunking of it or something. That's fine, because I'm having a bunch of people get together and give me all their best stuff. So
please don't get Alex Stein to give you info for it, because he'd just ask you to scream about Nazis at me for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Did he have one good one though? I thought one good argument against you. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Did he? I must have missed that.
What would you say was his best?
Well, his best one was probably the petrified wood moon rock, but there's actually a whole story behind that. It wasn't ever given out by NASA. There's a bunch of misinformation around it that even I wasn't aware of, that I've been told.
It wasn't given out by a NASA astronaut?
No, not at all. That's all misinformation. I've been given the whole breakdown.
I don't doubt that. I'm seeing a lot of things that were
Yeah.
definitely misinformation. So, no, I thought there was something else that he said that you were wrong about. I thought I messaged you about it, but I can't remember what it was now. There was something that you were saying. Was it the return lasers from the retroreflector? And you didn't know that they did it before 1960?
Oh no, I did know before, but I tried to point out to him that the ones before weren't as accurate, and you can tell not as accurate. They're not as strong when they return back, so you can tell what they're being reflected from. The point of the retroreflectors is to get a much more cohesive signal back than the scattered one you get just off the regolith.
Gotcha. No, I'll have to look back at that debate, but
it was a
I'm
fun
open
debate.
to
I had
all
fun
those
with that
things.
one. It was 8 o'clock in the morning as well. I was
I
tired.
I would hope that some scientific people, like some people that watch your show, because I guess this is what I would envision, that everybody
we've
who
got
watches.
PhD Tony, we've got Professor Bell, we've got Clive Wells, who's PhD.
No, what I mean
We're
is
in
that
chat
do,
right now.
do you think that they each believe in some conspiracies, or do you think that they are convinced that everything in the world is above board and that?
I mean, even I believe in some conspiracies. You know, I don't think everything is above board.
Yeah, I would hope that people see there's some definite issues out there, but I think that the best. That's why I had somebody ask me yesterday whether I think the flat Earth is a psyop, and in a way I do, because I do think that it if there was any kind of a truth movement going, the flat Earth is completely.
It's just to distract us from the lizard people.
Right. Yes. We'll never know that's happening. Yeah. No, I think that even reading the other day, I was reading Sagan's quote about, once we've been fooled long enough, we can't see that we're being fooled anymore, and we leave ourselves open to be taken over by. And I was reading that and realizing that was us was insane to me. It was like, holy shit, he's like warning us, and we're like using that quote to be like, science is lying to us, and but it's like, no, now it's the flat earthers that are so trapped by the bamboozle that they can't see that they've been deceived.
Yeah.
So they tend to turn it away.
Max M $5 says, Jeran, Durf permabanned me from your channel last year for asking in the chat how many apps he had to sell to buy his new boat. Can you please unban me?
Yeah, I need to know your channel name though. What's his name?
Just Max M.
Okay, I will try and find it.
Thank you.
That's your.
JSS Tiger $5 says, will Eric Dubay stop publishing crazy conspiracy books? That man doesn't care about facts at all. What's your thoughts on Eric Dubay?
Oh man, I always had problems with him from day one, but really, when we knew for sure there's something up, is that he makes that video after we say we're going to Antarctica, and he says, it doesn't matter because Lady Blount said so, but it's like, wait, hold on. So that Lady Blount girl said, yeah, there's a 24-hour sun in the south, and we don't have any explanation for it, but we're going to remain flat earthers. And they're all touting that as some sort of evidence of something. We're like, yeah, she said she couldn't explain it. That's the point. And then after the trip, we came back, and then he said it was faked. After saying it didn't matter, then it was faked. It's like, if it didn't matter, why would we fake it? And that's just a flip-flopper, right? So he's just saying whatever needs to be to get by. And I'm not down with that. He's basically he put something in his 200 proofs that he then came out and said, oh, it doesn't matter, and it's not a proof because this girl said that the 24-hour sun does happen, even though you put in the proofs that it does not. And then we got back and he said it's fake. And it's like, so the 200 proofs is like, I guess it's a, what do you call it? It's a living document. It changed whatever we need to. I'm sure it says now that you can't tell the lights in the sky or the shape of the ground by the lights in the sky. Probably says that now.
No. I don't know about you, but I would very much like to see him debate Neil deGrasse Tyson. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I don't even know where he's at anymore, that guy. He's always been, he must have like a personality disorder because he got here first, put himself in a position, and then every single creator that came along after that, he just demonized and called, which is probably a good thing. It probably slowed down the flat earth a little bit. If he would have been more accepting, a lot of people would have got behind him and it would have kind of become something. But because he was so, you have to say it my way or else you're a shill. And then he had the shill list, and then that word got brought into play, and from there, nobody's trusted anybody, which is going to be the case when you have a conspiracy-minded group who already don't trust everybody. Well, guess what? They're not going to trust each other.
Oh, some of my favorite flat earth streams are the ones when there's flat earthers ripping each other apart. That's always great. JR Pence, $5 says, Jeran, dealing with the world the way it is, get used to the idea that you will not know everything and not everything has an answer. Godspeed.
Thank you very much for that. And I do accept that. And I hope other people accept that because I've already had people ask me, what do you know about this? And how does gravity work? And I'm like, it's just not as important to me anymore because I don't think we're being lied to about it. So
fair enough.
If you have evidence that we are, bring it to me.
JSS Tiger, $5 says, I spent years in the 9/11 truth movement. I got out of it. What I learned is I am not an expert.
Yeah. It's a good thing to, right? And I kind of realized that as well, right? And I realized that, as much as I might think certain people are smart in the movement or something, it's like, okay, well, if I got a broken leg, would I go to the emergency room or would I call, Shane St. Pierre? If I need heart surgery, am I going to call Level Earth Observer? Or am I going to call, a heart surgeon? And that should tell you something. There's a reason why. It's because he does. So why would I go to them for my cosmology? What would be any different?
Yeah.
They don't have a clue. So.
My Unfinished Journey for $6.66 says, Hail Nero, hail Craig, hail Jeran, welcome to Rationality. Thank you for that. Lieutenant Fitz of Raged Ghost, yeah, I'm sorry you got killed. $5, Jeran, I had my own paradigm shift out of young Earth creationism that was hard enough not having a public persona. Major props. What are your current thoughts on young Earth creationism?
Oh, I'm not a Bible believer, so I don't have any reason to think that.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Rhino499 says, Jeran helped me escape the cult. Much love, hashtag WWF. Oh, wrestling fan.
No. WWF stands for We Were Flat.
I know.
Oh, who? What's that person's name?
Rhino.
Oh, Rhino. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, and he was down there at Salton Sea with me. We're doing the observations there, and so yeah, there's a good group of people. I'm happy that there's people that are seeing the light and not having to be where we were for much longer, because that's 10 years is plenty.
Emanzar with 40 rupees says, how was your relationship with Witsit now and before?
I don't think much has changed. I mean, I'm giving Witsit some time and hoping that he sees what I see and that it just takes him a little longer to get there, because otherwise his basic position is that there's enough wrong with the heliocentric model or whatever that he thinks it can still be flat. So I tried talking to him and just saying that, well, there might be tons of issues with it, and there might be tons of issues with dark matter and dark energy and all these things, but none of that's going to change the shape of the Earth. So that issue should be settled, and then we can move on to other things if we want. But again, I'm a person that I don't mind if people have beliefs that are different than mine. I can coexist with them. So I'm just different than everybody else. I don't think I would stop talking to somebody for their beliefs or something like that.
I think Witsit's ego is too large for him to admit that he was wrong, but time will tell.
Time will tell. That's it could be an issue. For me, it was just came down to, could I lie to an audience? And the answer is no. It's knowingly saying something that's not true. No, there's no way.
Yeah. Bill Tetley, $5 says, hey, Jeran, thank you for having the moral courage to admit what you saw and how it disproves flat Earth. I hope you peacefully find your way to truth.
Thank you.
Bill Tetley's awesome. Icy Spin 199 says, you think there's a better way to deconvert Flerfs? What, than laughing at them? Jeran, what do you think is the best way to deconvert flat earthers?
I used to think I had the answer. I don't feel like I do anymore because they're not listening. So if you could tie them down like a Clockwork Orange and maybe tape their eyes open and make them, maybe that would help. But I don't think that's going to be a smart move either. I don't know. I think
suggesting torturing Nathan Oakley, because I'm down for that.
Including them in more practical observations and things like that might be helpful, or just, like somebody like BLM LSM 69 or whatever, the guy that did the video of the black swan. If more people understood that he's actually said, oh, I went out there every day for like 4 months, and this was just a day that was seen that's normally not. Like, I think people they tend to think like, oh, the black swan means that you can see that every day, right? And that's not the case. It is a optics thing. And yeah, I have lots of ways to explain it to them that should get them back, but they don't listen to me. So, and I've already seen it trying to have conversations. It's like they literally will skip past anything that you say to just say something else. So I think it's a brain thing. I don't know if anybody's ever written a good book on it, but there's some mental block our brains build.
The psychology is interesting, definitely. That
it's there.
I've
and
never
you
seen
talk to
humans
anybody.
act like this since I've been into the flat Earth scene. It's a different breed of humanity that I've met. It's a bit crazy.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from, but Melodome had the same thing. It's like you, once you accept it, then your brain might build something up in order to protect itself from having to realize that it's wrong. So, for instance, if I start having people who show up at conferences who want to speak to me, right? So they're like, "Oh, Jeran, I came just to see you, and I love your work." And okay, so that is a good feeling. We all know that would be a good feeling. So your brain might build up a wall in order to make sure that doesn't go away, or that you never realized that was not deserved, right? So can you stop that from happening? Well, you just have to recognize what's going on, that okay, these people are coming because I'm actually saying something opposite the mainstream, so I better be damn sure that what I'm saying is true. But again, that's not going to bring anybody back. It's just a matter of explaining why I think a lot of people are stuck, and then once you've told other friends or told family or told anybody that they're morons. So that's one thing. If you look at me, I never really went, I don't think that you'd find a lot of videos of me saying Craig's a complete moron. If you say that, then what happens is it's hard for you to admit that you're wrong, because then it includes, oh, I'm the moron.
Yeah.
Right. So I tried not to do that from the start, just because I didn't see a reason in it, and it's not going to get you anywhere. And the good thing about that is, by doing that, I wasn't treated bad by the globe earthers. I mean, I can honestly say, yeah, Wolf, you made videos about me, sure, but nobody actually went real hard, because I wasn't doing the same thing back, right?
You were one of the harder ones to make videos about, because
because I was being honest, and so
you were being honest. There wasn't as much like, oh my god, look at this blatant lie and stuff. There were some things that I did a couple of episodes of Flerfs Idiots on you, but the majority of the time I'd look for something on your channel and be like, I can't turn that into a video.
Right, it would just be being dumb, really. But yeah, as far as like all out lying or the things that you see from other, it just wasn't there. So I think that that's why it made it easier for me, because I was able to just say, okay, I don't want to lie to my audience anymore, and I can admit that I was wrong, and at least I'm closer to the truth now. So I think that it's going to be tough for the other people, because they're not going to. And again, if I was just let's say I was not a creator, okay, so I'm not a YouTube creator, I'm just a viewer, then that makes it much easier to come back and make up a thing in my head that kind of convinces me. But when you have an audience, that I think has made it much different for me, because the very first thing I'm thinking about is my audience. Like, I can handle the truth to myself, but then I started thinking on the plane ride back, like, oh, how do I let people know this? So it made it a bigger thing to me. And I made my bed, I got to lay in it, right? Because originally my thought was, I want to get all this public. I want to make sure, so I can kind of follow my line of thinking. And doing that, then you gain a bunch of people that start following you. And so you're like, oh, shit, I got to, the least thing they deserve is the honest truth that I no longer believe it. So
Well,
some people have been
props, like,
very
yeah.
unhappy about that. People are asking for refunds on their, like, I don't know why people think that. Like, what are
Screw
you
that.
talking? How is it even in your head? They're like asked for refunds for like donations from years ago. They asked. I saw somebody. Oh, it was what's her name? Shelley Lewis asked for a refund from the 2017 conference. I'm like, Shelley, if
What,
a
the
guy
Flat Earth
runs a
International
conference,
Conference that Robbie ran?
yeah, because Robbie bailed, she said that she deserves a refund.
Well, no, she still went to the conference, right? You can't take that away.
No, but because he didn't believe in it now, then she should get her money back.
Fucking hell. Artful Dodger, $2 says, Jeran, are you streaming on YouTube right now?
I'm not. I hope not.
No, I don't know why I asked that. Feel free
Did
to
I-
post this on your channel if you want to, though. Larry Scott 499 says, Jeran, script a Flat Earth cliche video, get someone else to do it, then see if it gets likes and citations like Taboo and Banjo. I don't think Jeran wants to lie to people, and that's the thing.
I don't. Yeah, I've had some other ideas too, but all of them involve being dishonest. So now.
Yeah. No, you didn't like it when we did the fake pay thing, did you?
Which pay? You mean the document from the?
Yeah. When we
international
released the fake.
No, because I fell
document.
for it. Yeah, that's why I didn't like it. And it wasn't even me who found it too. It was somebody who like sent me this, like, look at this, and they like sent me this screenshot of just a trash can tilted over with the paper in it. And I think if I would have watched the original video, I would have caught on that there was obviously a joke.
Dude, I can't believe how many people fell for that. It was me, Plan and Walk, Goddess Engineer, Toon. I think it was that. We got together and we were just like, no one will fall for this. It's just a laugh. And then next thing we know, it's all over. And we're like, what?
I'm like making a video saying, there's these oranges. Yeah,
Man, if I did get paid that amount for each video, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah, that's again. It's because you have to think of you're dealing with conspiracy theorists, though. It's like that thing with the Stephen Hawking test that I always bring up. It's like, I get it. That's a TV show. It's not a scientific test, and so yeah, they fudged it a little bit or they faked it. But it's like they just need to recognize that like that is so damaging because the conspiracy theorists out there will never let that die down.
My Unfinished Journey $5 says, seriously, major props to Jeran for having the courage and integrity to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if that place is uncomfortable. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Watching the video of you in Antarctica when you're saying sometimes in life you're wrong, you looked devastated. Like,
what do you expect?
It looked like your entire world had fallen out from underneath you. You didn't look happy doing that. In fact, you looked a bit ill on the camera, like with how uncomfortable you felt. That must have been a really hard thing to do.
It was not easy, and then plus we were delirious at that time, right? That we not a lot of sleep till at that point, and it had just come to realization that at that point the sun wasn't going to set. So yeah, it was a tough moment, but I don't disagree with anything that I said. That sometimes in life you are wrong, and you gotta say it when you are. And I gave Duffy credit for completing what he wanted to get done, which was basically, hey, I'll bring you down there. Let's do this like men should. Basically, you say this is true, and this is what the results would be. But I say this is true, and this is what the results will be, and we'll go and find out. And so had to give him credit for that and for everything just coming together as it did, because that was a quick turnaround. I mean, from the time we said, okay, we're going, it's like a month, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, here's gear starting to show up at the house. Yeah, it's like happening quickly. And for somebody like me who thought that the trip would be canceled, it was very quickly. Oh shit, I better get shit together. So no, I could see people seeing that I was uncomfortable. It was not the most easiest thing to say. So, did you tell your audience about how you're going to be sending 1,000 of them members over to my channel?
Guys, make sure that you cancel the membership on my channel and just send it over to Jeran's, or just go and join the membership on Jeran's channel.
Yeah, clip that. I'm gonna clip that. Thank you.
Fashanti member for 56 months says, "Hey Jeran, respect from SoCal. Nice to see you in the chat, Fashanti." Denzo from 5CHF says, "Props to you, Jeran. I wish more stupid people would have the courage that you have. But honestly, what about Whitsit? Do you talk to him?" I think you'd already answered about Whitsit. It's not really changed at the moment, has it?
Nope. We talked the other day. I mean, there was a situation where we were going to debate, but we both were kind of led into the improper understanding of that. So it was kind of like James reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you want to debate Whitsit after the final experiment?" And I said, "I don't think that he would want to do that," because we'd kind of talked, and I was like, "I don't think he'd want to do that." He's like, "Okay." And then he went to Whitsit and said, "Would you want to debate Jeran?" And he's like, "I don't think Jeran would want to do that." And he's like, "Oh, Jeran said he didn't think you'd want to do it." And he's like, oh no, I would. And he's like, okay. Then he came back to me and says, Witsit says he does want to debate. I'm like, what? Okay, well, I guess we'll debate. So we both kind of got ready to debate each other. And then we were talking on the phone and we realized, well, it was actually somebody else who messaged me and said, do you know that you and Witsit tell the same story on your live streams about him? I'm like, what do you mean? They said, oh, he was on Discord, I guess. They said, you both tell the story that you thought the other person was challenging you to debate. I'm like, yeah, Witsit said he wanted to debate. He's like, no, Witsit says you wanted to debate. I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm like, so it just kind of, then we talked on the phone and we're like, we both had the exact same story. So we're like, it's probably not good to do right now. We'll just wait on it. But it might eventually happen. And if it does happen, but again, like I said, I'm happy because I want to give him a little bit more time. If, let's say we did have a debate, I feel like that's digging your feet in, right? If he debates me, has to dig his feet in and say that the earth's still flat, then is that kind of him cementing that position? So I wanted to give him every opportunity to realize what I saw and what he should have saw. And he's had some questions about things that we saw, and I've tried to give him answers to those questions. And I think that it should be clear, at least, again, not everything else. I agree that there's issues with some other things, but not with the shape of the earth anymore.
Cool. Artful Dodger, $2 says, sub to Jeranism. Yeah, there's 700 of you watching right now. Please, every one of you, go and sub to Jeranism because it's a channel full of honesty.
And because I've lost like 1,500 in the last month. So
yeah, I mean, they are subscribers you do not want. That's fine.
That's true. It's a good point. Good point.
Christopher Kane, $10 Canadian says, hi, my friend, how's things? I just sent you $50 Canadian on YouTube. This was my message. I haven't been around for quite a while. I'm happy to see you healthy and happy, my friend. Well, thank you very much, my friend. I do appreciate it. I'm glad to see you. I know you've not been well. Glad to see you back, dude. Always happy. Platypus Buck for $5 Canadian says, Jeran, you probably hear this often. My fiance and I cheered for you when you hopped on camera in Antarctica and to hear your acceptance of the truth.
Thank you. That's awesome. Very nice of you.
I think a lot of us did, actually. I did give a, oh, yes! You know, Evil Banana Wind. Well, there's a name for you. For $2 says, when Dave Weiss farts, did demons cause it?
I don't know what caused it.
Probably that assisted living. I mean, we all got his address from his app, and I looked at it, and I'm pretty sure that he lives in an assisted living facility. I'm just saying.
Could be a plasma laser light that you saw, though. Maybe,
yeah. Dihydrogen monoxide, $2. Jeran, thoughts on Santos and Oakley?
Garbage humans. Do you want more than that, or that is enough? No, I think
when I was a young boy, I grew up on the farm. I'm a country boy, and I used to fuck the cows and the pigs. I used to fuck the pigs, and the cows would come, and I would pat them and look into their eyes.
I mean, it's impressive that he could fuck the pigs and the cows would come. That's a skill, right?
That's pretty impressive, actually. He's more talented than me, I'll tell you. No, he did a video where he wished that I would die quickly and that my son and wife would die or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that I was doing anal sex with rockets or something. So the guy's a quality human.
Yeah, he said he wanted to slit my mother's throat while I watched.
Okay, well, yeah. That's when I hope that God is real and that people are dealt with.
Yeah.
Because that's certainly not going to get you high fives at the pearly gates.
OG Blue 13, $4.99 says, Jeran, what's next for your channel since Flat Earth is over?
Yeah, so I kind of finished off my Unplugged series, and I'm going to just be looking into some other things. Like I said, I would love to go to like some observatories and get some of this stuff that people still don't believe in to figure out, you know, what's what. So I would just say keep an eye on it because it's kind of up in the air right now. We want to start a show. Austin Thompson and I are going to do the Dank Debunk Show, just as a play on Mike's, the Drunk Debunk Show, but we'll be high, and we're just going to go through and kind of tear apart observations by flat earthers that we now think are fallacious. So
I would love to join you in some of that. I definitely would like to come and smoke a bowl with you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So that's coming up. Other than that, just Friday is my show, the main show, 3 p.m. So if you could tune into that, it's been fun. We get the Dirt Ball of the Week, which is Dirth Ball, spelled DITRHBALL. And the actual physical awards are coming this week, and they are a nice plaque with an encapsulated ball of dirt. Oh,
nice.
So it's going to be fun. And they can even have them mailed. I'll mail them free of charge to their house for them. So if they want that. So that's that show's pretty good. I think people have enjoyed it. If you watch my Unplugged, you guys don't need to watch it because it's more for flat earthers. But the last 12 episodes have all been there's a top 20 reasons why you should flip to the globe in there, and there's the 8 things that falsify flat Earth, and there's just some other things like that that are good. And then just pointing out these guys being outrageous and the things that they say, and trying to draw on a map over and over again why. When you're in Punta Arenas looking west, the sun sets and it just barely goes under the horizon for a couple hours, comes right back up, and there's just no way that it's lighting Australia and Africa in that time unless it's on the other side of the Earth. So it's not even a question anymore. There's no possible way it could be flat or that it ever will be flat, and I make a point to say that on my shows. You'll never wake up and it be flat. So if you're a flat earther today, just know that you are pushing and believing and teaching a lie. So
amazing. Just hearing you say that is incredible. Danny Turner for £2 says, Jeran, what's your view on space? Welcome to the globe.
As is described, I guess. I mean, as far as distances and things like that, I'm not 100% sure on those. But again, when you think you're being lied to, then you kind of everything's into question, right? It's all. But then once you realize you're not, then it's hard to just say, well, I still have the same negative feelings about all these other parts of it. Yeah, kind of. But, do I think NASA's a great company? No. But
no, NASA fucking suck, by the way. They're useless.
They really don't do a very good job. By the way, if you ever have a voting opportunity, vote for me to be head of NASA. I will change things immediately.
Oh my God. Could you imagine ex-flat earther becomes head of NASA?
And then, all the flat earthers too, they would really believe that. They would.
No, you stuff that, what, Jeranism for president. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I don't think I would do that job. Thanks.
It seems like a lot of stress.
Head of NASA, somebody needs to do a better job over there. They're again, it seems like they should be doing more, but what can you do?
Pajo Lee to Euro says, no questions. Want to say fair dues to Jeran. Thank you very much for that, buddy. C-Roy, €6. Jeran, have you heard the word about Mikey's left toe? You know Mikey Smith?
So I know he was in Vegas, and I kind of was following along a little bit, but I don't really get the whole toe thing. You want to explain it to me real quick?
If you look at the camera, that's Mikey's left toe on the left.
But that's not really.
Yeah, no, it actually is Mikey. The green has been added, but the rest is Mikey's left toe. His left toe, for some reason, has a face.
Isn't that from Tremors?
No, that's actually his toe.
Okay.
Trust me, you can go on his channel and there's videos of him with that toe out, and he's got a Dremel trying to sand the dead skin away.
Okay, yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. It makes people, yeah. So that's Mikey's left toe.
Fun stuff right there.
and it hurts my brain. PhD Tony for 10 Australian dollars says, the danger of conspiracy thinking. No, I'm here.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Oh, there was a whole bunch
eyes.
What is that?
What's going on?
I don't know. I heard like a stutter, and then I heard your voice back there.
Oh, that was weird. PhD Tony for $10 says, the danger of conspiracy theory thinking where the only evidence is symbology is it becomes impossible to have a rational discussion. Conspiracies happen, but we need hard evidence to detect them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and there's definitely it's going to be very difficult talking to a flat earther because they're not listening to you and they don't have the same understandings of facts that you do.
It's the same with moon landing deniers. I find that it's a hatred of NASA more than an actual thing that we didn't go to the moon. They focus on the wrong thing. They don't have the evidence that there's actually a moon hoax. It's just, wow, NASA take all your money and they were founded by Nazis.
Right.
Rather than looking at the actual evidence.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I have a problem with NASA, and I guess that's what stems the problem with the moon landings to start with. But no, it'll be good. I think people should look forward to the McKeegan video or the series, whatever we end up doing, because I think there'll be a lot that comes from that. People have already said, I've already seen people messaging me, oh, you're going to throw it on purpose? It's like, people don't know me very well. It's like, no, I'm not going to lie. If I don't believe in something, I'm going to say it. The other night, I'm the dumbest YouTuber of all time, by the way, in just the way that I don't care about my audience, and I think that you have to, or else you lose. That's why I lose views, is because I went against Christianity right from the start, right? I'm a flat earther who goes against Christianity, actually makes videos and channels against Christianity. So I'm just not but I should tell people that at least I'm being honest. That's my honest opinion. I'm not going to just believe in Christianity because, I'm a flat earther and all my audience believes that. I better believe it too. Yeah. So I try not to do that. I try to be as honest as I can. The other night I was being honest on my channel. Again, you'd think that I came this far, and then I was making comments about why I don't believe in the Mars rover. And I got so many messages after from people that are like really upset at me, these science people. I'm just like, listen, but I'm open to being wrong. I'm just telling you my honest opinion. You should be happy that at least I'm being honest. And then if somebody gives me evidence, I'll change my opinion. So we shall see.
Bobby Two Hands, £5 says, hi, Craig. Hi, Jeran. Thank you very much, Bobby.
His name is Bobby Two Hands?
It is, yes.
Wow.
Mr. Jingles for £2 says, thanks, Jeran. One of the best chats to listen to. Thank you, Mr. Jingles. Gary IOW, £10 says, of all the Flerfs, I always thought Jeran was okay. He was never shouty, never really rude, never lost his rag, and always spoke his truth, even when being berated by Reds. Good man.
Fun.
Yeah. NA $6.66. I subbed to Jeran as soon as I found out he left Flat Earth. Yeah, you may have lost a bunch of Flat Earthers, but you're gaining actually smart people, so it's fine.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. A smart person counts for 2 Flat Earthers, so just think of it like that. Bob for $2 says, Craig's looking skinny. How do you do it? Don't eat and exercise. No, really, don't eat. Like
2 meals a day. So you should go down to. If you're eating 3 meals a day, you're doing something wrong.
So today I had a protein shake before I went to the gym, and then I had a cup of tea and a protein bar afterwards, and then I tried to eat spaghetti bolognese but only managed a few mouthfuls, and then I had another protein bar, and that's what I've had. Yeah, so don't eat. That's how you lose weight. It's fucking easy to gain, but it's impossible to lose.
You promised me to keep your shirt on, though.
This time, yeah.
Yeah, or else I wasn't coming on.
Crypto Roast for £2 says, props, Jeran, from your favourite Richard on Telegram.
What's up, Richard?
He's a good dude. Favorite. Icy Spin $2 says, except for It's a Rubik's does a good job, FTFE. It's a Rubik's does a good job, and what are you talking about there? Rubik's, I hope you're okay after your trip. Steve 6464, member for 21, says, so Dearth is part of Mike's left foot. Ooh. Gary IOW became a new member. Welcome to Scrappers. Jack Fetter 499. Before you diss NASA, become familiar with the full body of their work. I am aware of the full body of NASA's work. I'm also aware of how mismanaged, unorganized, and bad they are at meeting deadlines.
Yeah, like really, really bad. But here's another reason I disagree with them big time is that we pay for their, right, so it's our tax money. So then when they hire scientists and engineers to build things, whatever, okay, so that's kind of our funding. But then when they develop things or they create a new product or a new technology, they then sell that patent to the highest bidding company. So we're actually funding the development of products and technology that then gets sold to companies who then can upcharge it and actually charge us more for products because they're the only ones who own the patent, but we're the ones who developed the actual, not we developed it, but our money did. So what NASA should do is anything that's developed under NASA's eye should be open source. It should be for the world. But of course, that's not how people make money. I just think that's a terrible, terrible thing because it actually means that my tax money is costing me more, right? My tax money contributes to the companies getting to charge me more money for products. So that's kind of rude.
Yeah. I as an outside observer, just looking at the way that NASA is run in general, they never do what they say. Like, it's always delayed. There's always problems. There's always issues. I mean, even back in the times of the moon landings with the whole Ross Grissom putting the lemon on because he was so frustrated with how badly managed the whole thing was. Yeah, NASA have done great things and their technology has advanced humanity a lot, but yeah, they're not run well. But I guess that's the American government. I don't know. I don't want to get political. I'm not allowed to mention politics.
Yeah, don't mention politics. Piss people off. No, but I think that my documentary was actually not bad. The NASA going nowhere since 1958 because it did just show that every president that comes in, they flip flop with what the current goal is, and it does seem to be on purpose. That's a good way to go nowhere. So anyway, if you put me in charge, I'll say we're putting this plan together. It's a 15-year plan, and that's it.
Icy Spin,
I got one
$2
more.
says, I'd love to open the Titanic sunk rabbit hole. Yeah, that could be fun. Becky Do Glover for $2 says, Jeran, what do you think about CC? Chris from Westchester County.
I think he just laughs. I don't watch. It's funny because you guys watch him and then the flat earthers don't. So
No.
nobody in the flat earth really, they don't even watch him.
Yeah, he just shouts at clouds and gets angry in his car. It's quite fun. His hair
wife
just
tells him
amazes
to
me
get
though.
his life together or something.
Oh yeah,
So-
well, yeah. There's been several times of that. Design Song 1 for $20. Thank you very much. 10 years of your life back. If you had followed, they claim the Earth is a sphere with the honesty, I don't possess the basic skills to determine the truth of these claims. Why not begin there on the moon landings?
Say again. Read it one more time.
If you had followed, 10 years of your life back, if you'd followed, they claim the Earth is a sphere with the honesty of, I don't possess the basic skills to determine the truth of these claims. And why not begin there on the moon landings?
Yeah, I mean, that is what we're doing, is going back and kind of letting somebody who's an expert, or Dave McKeegan or somebody, kind of explain where we might be wrong on something. So I think that is the position that we're taking. Although the position of just saying, oh, I now believe in the moon landing, to me is wrong. So, and if you're asking me honestly, I'm being honest when I say I don't think we went to the moon. So again, to say something different than that would be a lie. If I said, okay, well, actually, I'm going to now think that we did or something. I just don't think that we did, but I'm open to being proven wrong. And so we'll find out.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Sean G, who I think was my third ex-Flat Earth interview, for $2 says, welcome to the ex-Flat Earth Club, Jeran.
Hey, it's happening. Good to be here. So thank you for keeping it warm for me.
Yeah, he would. Do you ever see Sean's channel? Truth Crew, I think. Or
I remember
can't
him
what they're called.
being in some debates, I think, but not a lot.
All right. Where's Wally? $5 says, hey, Jeran, remember Fram 2 should launch today. First astronauts in polar orbit over both poles every 90 minutes. Flat Earth is going to go nuts.
And then are they supposed to have video footage of it?
Yeah, I imagine that they will have, because it's the first time that that's being done, I think.
I'd like to see that. I would make a prediction that they won't, but we'll see.
Bill
And
Tetley,
my prediction is
$5.
not just based on, so still, NASA needs to put more cameras on crafts. They really do.
Bill Tetley, $5. Before we can accept you back into the Globe community, you must be initiated by sucking Mikey Smith's left toe.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Flat Earth is the.
You know what? I'm a flat earther. If that's what we got to do, I'm a fucking flat earther. Crazy Racy became a new member. Welcome to Scrappers. Monkey Cat Pat for $2 says, happy to have you back, Jeran. Much respect.
Thank you.
Jack Fetter, $4.99. NASA comment was for Jeran. By the way, Jeran, do you have access to military weapon systems? No. Silly argument about IP. Do some research, please.
So what is it? Sorry, I was distracted. Say it again.
He's asking. Well, he's basically saying that it's a silly argument about intellectual properties. I think something about access to military weapons. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. Again, if we're talking about just patents that they sell to the highest bidding company, so I'm not saying that if they develop a missile system that they should put that out for the public. I'm saying that. Probably shouldn't charge the highest bidder, because then that company's going to take it and hide that information from us, or they're going to hoard it. That's what patents do.
All right. Last question is from Max from Matters Now, who says, hello, Jeran. He says, we were wondering, does Jeran think things would have been different if his wife didn't accept the Globe? Does her support have an influence on him?
No, I mean, yes. I mean, if she had questions about it, but when we became flat earthers, she was right there with me. And then when we found out about the final experiment, she kind of was in the camp at first, like, well, I don't understand how that will change the other things that we've seen. And then we kind of talked it out, and I kind of, I remember being in the backyard and just describing, like, looking south, and we were talking about going south, and what would ever cause the sun to pop out of the earth, basically, and stop going behind the horizon. And once she kind of understood that, she's came to the conclusion, oh yeah, man, if you see that, then the Earth's definitely a sphere. So, and that was even less than I came back with in explaining that. We were looking south at the sun, and then that was above the heads of Australia. I mean, that alone, what the hell's going on a flat Earth map?
Yeah, it makes no
How are
sense.
you looking south at all? And then the big one for me is the Tropic of Capricorn. Once you see the sun set right to left, then the Tropic of Capricorn has to go that same direction, because the sun stays above it. So that means that the tropic doesn't turn to the right, which is required in a flat Earth. It turns to the left. And is there a model out there that says that it would turn to the left? There is. I think you guys know what that model is.
Globe. Dave D, member 15 months, says, takes courage to abandon strong beliefs, respect. Guys, thank you very much for your support and all the questions for Jeran. I really, I can never say thank you enough for the support that you show my channel. Do me a favor, go and show Jeran the same channel. Subscribe to his channel, Jeranism, if you aren't already, because he is doing a great job of spreading truth, which is clear now is all that he ever wanted. So yeah, Jeran, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the channel and share your thoughts with me. I really, really appreciated it. And Anna N has just given a super chat, 5 years. Jeran, maybe look into the 60s geopolitics and see if a moon cover-up was feasible. Craig, did you get my mail with 17th century maps in Antarctica? I have about 12,000 unopened emails, so very possibly. Yeah, but okay. Oh, a bunch more. Where's Wally? $5. Fram 2 is a private SpaceX mission funded by crypto billionaire. We hope to see much. The girl doing the videography was also on one more orbit. Awesome.
Is she the blonde? Oh, sorry.
Guess so. Dihydrogen oxide for £2 says, has Jeran seen Mikey Smith's left toe? Yeah, we did show him that. But yeah,
want to see it again though.
No, nightmares, right? But yeah, Jeran, thank you very much, and thank you for being honest and showing us what actually real research gets. It may have taken you 10 years, but you did it.
Well, thanks for being patient with me. It may have taken you guys 10 years, but no, I appreciate everybody. They've been kind. There's not been any too much hate, and I know I deserve a little bit of it, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, you've taken responsibility for, the people following you into bullshit, which is a big thing. Because you did have a massive influence on the flat earth culture and community in general. And, a lot of people were flat earthers because of you. So, that is something that you have to live with. And I think you have done all you can to kind of redeem yourself for that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I wish more people would listen now because they should. I mean, it's a person that was involved in flat earth for 10 years who now says that the Earth's a sphere. So I wish that more people would pay attention now, but I get why they are just going to turn me off and go on listening to the guys basically, blowing smoke up their ass. Why not?
Yeah. Well, Jeran, let me know when I can come over to your channel for a smoke. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay. But I will let you get off now because it's been 3 hours. But yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to have an interview with me. Guys, this is Jeranism, ex-Flat Earther. Please go and subscribe. And thank you very much. I'll speak to you later, bud.
Yep. WWF, we were flat.
Take it easy. Bye. Well, that was amazing. That is actually a mind-blowing bit of internet history. Jeranism is no longer a flat earther, which is just incredible. And it's thanks to all of us, and thanks to Will, and thanks to Jeran actually trying to find the truth. It's been a long journey. And he has always been one of the big flat earthers, but seeing him change has given me hope in humanity once again. Thank you everyone for watching. I very much appreciate all the support as always. I'm going to take a couple of days off just to decompress and get myself... I'm going to do a 2-hour stream tomorrow to finish off my Witsit thing. Then I'm going to take a couple of days off to decompress. Then I'm going to do a nice big stream before my wife and I go away for our anniversary. So I will see you tomorrow while we do that. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I love every single one of you. Just, not you, Gary. Remember, stupidity's not alright. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat earth.
FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show.
Need Palpatine, Port of Dream, finally, thank you.
FTFE show. Earth think that evolution is real. Chemtrails don't exist, vaccines work. Climate change is happening, we landed on the moon. The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Study, it's not alright. Baby, it's not alright. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. It's basically an idiot. Stupidity is not alright. Fight the flat earth. FTFE show. Stupidity is not alright. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. It's basically stupidity is not alright. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flock, 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 fight the flock.
Hi, my name's Nathan Oakley, and I have been lying to people about the Earth being flat for a lot of years. I did this to hide the fact I have a small penis.
I'm a dumb flat earther, and I don't understand science.